Welcome back to Derailed. Happy to see the chat is already booming. Love it, you guys. What are you so excited about? I mean, something big happened this week? Come on.
If it did,
I mean,
we would have spent 5 hours talking about it for sure.
5 hours, 5 hours. Yeah. The rumors are that we stay up until 2:30 or 3 in the morning, my time, live streaming this because, dude, it was going down as we were starting our stream last week. Anybody who missed it, you missed out. 5 flipping hours. It was crazy. And, the whole time we're doing it, Jake, you and I are thinking to ourselves, like, are we just wasting our time? Like, of course we're wasting our time. Like, of course it's not actually going to happen.
Yeah.
But, like, we believed in it enough to go for 5 hours. That was, I mean, what was our previous longest live stream ever? 3.5 hours?
3.5, yeah. Something like that.
Yeah. And there was a point where we're like, kind of wanting to wrap things up, except that, like, the Micah Parsons thing is still going. And we're like, you know what? Screw it. We just got to keep going because it seems like something might happen like tonight. As crazy as it sounds, right? And
Didn't take long.
And then before we knew it, it was like, dude, I can't even keep my eyes open anymore. I'm so tired. So that was so much fun. Tool over this says Ed mother loving policy. And let me just say,
preach.
I think there is a not insignificant body of evidence pointing us to the conclusion that this whole issue of number 0 and number 1 being off limits for use was a Mark Murphy decision. Love Mark Murphy. On that issue, I think he was being a fuddy-duddy. I can appreciate everything else he's ever done in his entire career for the Packers and still call him out for being a fuddy-duddy on that one issue. And I appreciate this new era where Ed Policy, the man, the president, our president, what is it? Poe Tap, president of the amazing Packers, right? Poe Tap?
Sure.
Yeah. That he put 0 and 1 back on the table. I think it is a not insignificant body of evidence pointing us to this conclusion. First of all, Mark Murphy leaves office for about 5 minutes and immediately 0 and 1 are assigned. Now, granted, they are assigned to much more deserving
goats
candidates than have ever been discussed for those numbers before. All right. The Packers, I think the last time the Packers traded a first-round pick for a player, his name was Brett Favre. Is that correct? Pretty sure that's the last time we traded a first-round pick for a player.
I don't remember anything else.
Like doing the pick swap, where we moved up a little bit when we moved on from Aaron Rodgers to move from whatever it was, 15 to 12 or whatever. We ended up at 13. That doesn't count. I'm not talking about that. Straight up trading a first-round pick and getting a player back. It was Brett Favre.
That's it.
And then Micah Parsons. And, I think you could ask just about anybody who covers the NFL in any capacity, and they would say, yeah, Micah Parsons sure seems like he's on a Hall of Fame trajectory. It would be weird if you told me, hey, I come from the future, he doesn't make it into the Hall of Fame. You go, man, something crazy happened.
Yeah.
So, is Micah Parsons going to be the only player to ever wear number 1 before he gets retired? Like, actually, for him? Like, we didn't. I mean, okay, there's 2 players to compare him to, and everybody's doing it, right? It's Reggie White and it's Charles Woodson, right? Like, those are the 2 players everybody compares this move to all the time, right? We didn't retire Woods' number, but, like, everybody remembers him as a Raider. Like, he is a Packer, but he's more of a Raider. Reggie is a Packer first, and then he's an Eagle, right? I think that's fair to say. So I think that it's going to have to do with number 1. Do we bring the Vince Lombardi Trophy back to Green Bay? Number 2, does he finish out the rest of his career here? And do we basically look back and say, like, he is more a Packer ultimately than a Cowboy? and like we all agree, like the decision to bring him in did pan out and was good. Like that, I think that's the criteria, right? To retire his number. Yes,
Yeah,
basically.
I think so.
I think he's on a trajectory. Yes.
Literally too old for this saying. That clip of Golden Parsons dapping at the picture today gave me chills.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
As Matt Schneidman said, imagine seeing this pick in March. How about imagine seeing this in January? You're like, wow, okay, we lost to the Eagles. What do they need? Well, I watched this Jalen Hurts clip of him standing for 9 seconds back there like, wow, nobody can get pressure. And then, wow, all offseason, wow, these Packers receivers, they can't catch the football. Watson's the best guy catching the football. He goes down with an ACL tear, and it's like, okay, you're right. Golden, Parsons, done. We'll do it with 3 firsts, and we'll call it a day. Yeah, I mean, it's just a lovely time to give out 0 and 1 for the last time.
I mean, I
gotta love that 0 and 1. They're only around. You guys gotta love that. Those 2 are numbers. That's it. That's it after this. I'll call it. I'm not scared.
I buy it. I buy it. Look, I mean, I've been trying to decide what jersey do I buy. All right, look, I'm a poor boy.
I can't get either at this point.
I can't get Golden and Parsons. Yeah, true. They're all in back order.
Pro Shop.
They're all in back order.
My goodness.
Although, okay, the Pro Shop does not
another
sponsor our show,
you, though.
So I shouldn't be giving them a shout out. But they are running a sale right now that I took advantage of. I think I've talked a couple of times on here about the big hoodie that I wanted from the Packers with their new 1923 throwback collection. And so, they got like free shipping, 25% off, blah, blah, blah. I really shouldn't be shouting out the Pro Shop right now because they don't sponsor our show. But listen, Pro Shop, I know you're listening. If you like the sound of me shouting you out and you want that to continue, sponsor our show. It's not that hard. It's a worthy cause.
So speaking of finding those type of things as we're getting into this, I gotta think. I mean, if you're asking like, hey, what can I get? If I don't want a jersey, I can help you with that. Okay.
No, I said I do want a jersey.
I know, but if you're looking, if you're going, well,
all right, thinking, let's see
what's the budget look like right now, type of thing. I don't want to. I want to splurge on the jersey. I splurged on the Love jersey recently, and that's the only one I want.
Let's see it. What do you got for us?
May I introduce to you a shirt that I think you would really, really like? Okay,
cool.
If you want a Parsons one, all right,
it is cool.
I think this is really good. I ordered this. I have to say,
it is very cool.
It is a very sick T-shirt. So
if
you want to go,
it definitely gives like 90s and 2000s vibes for sure. I mean, I instantly think of the Reggie White, Brett Favre Super Bowl team when I see that T-shirt.
And
no question about it.
You don't even have to stop there. Now, I think they're going to make the adjustment here? Yeah, of course. But I did get this one already. I feel like it's just going to be a novelty item anyway. Whatever. It's fine. I think it's cool.
I think you need to also get the 0 version of it, though.
Yes, of course. But
I think you frame the 22 and wear the 0.
Yeah, honestly.
Tool for this says, where's the link to that shirt? I like it a lot. You can't have the link yet because Jake has not yet set up his affiliate code for whatever this website is.
I have somebody you can use their code, though, which would be much appreciated. So if you want that link, just at me on Twitter. I'll send it to you.
So I was looking. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Again, you're really not supposed to be shouting out the Pro Shop since they're not sponsoring us, but I'm feeling generous because they have Micah Parsons on the team, so I'm feeling generous. And like, the Green Bay Packers make this podcast possible by existing. So I wanted to. I was kind of thinking like one of the winter warning jerseys. I never got any winter warning merch. And you can still get it on the shop. But I was trying to figure out, like, are the jerseys still just our regular white jerseys? Because, like, they don't really have jerseys in here that say winter warning, and it all just says away
game. Yeah.
So, like, I'm trying to figure out if it's the same. is the winter warning jersey the same? Because I don't think it's this. I don't think that the old color rush was the same.
Yeah, I don't think. No, it wasn't. It was not. I'm dropping that link in your where you posted the show stuff on Twitter, and the folks can grab it there. But yeah, it doesn't. I don't know.
Here's I will show you.
Okay.
This is the hoodie come on, load. This is the hoodie I'm getting. It's it was on the first page. I wonder if
Can't get this link to work.
Where is it? I already ordered it, so I don't have to worry about it being out of stock. It's like the hockey hoodie.
Oh.
I'm so annoyed I can't see it now. It's not that. Well, where the heck is it? Maybe it was on page 1 and I missed it. Here it is. This one right here. Check this
that's
out.
A nice hockey shirt.
So this is the one. This is the one I ordered.
I like that.
Gorgeous.
I do.
So when it comes in, I'll have to wear it on the live stream. Although I may wait for it to get a little bit colder. It's still crazy hot here. Brian Murphy says, "Where is my 2026 mock draft?" We are absolutely doing a mock draft tonight. We are. We have to.
Okay.
You
got it.
But the people have to sponsor it. Just say it.
I think we kind of
right?
did it with the
Venmo's up there.
You know what I'm saying? I think we just
say what?
I think we gave 2 firsts and a second, but like, boards are subject to change.
We gave 2 firsts and Kenny Clark. We gave 2 firsts and Kenny Clark.
Did we? Is that what we did? We did something different, I think, last week when we did it at the end of the show. I don't remember what we gave up. It was like
we gave up
2 ones, a 2, and probably another player. I think
it was 2 1s, 2 2s, a player, and a third. I think is what we gave up. So I will say I got a lot of crap on social media for saying that I didn't want to do the trade. But you guys who were here last week for our 5-hour stream, you recall why we had talked ourselves out of this was what we thought we were going to have to give up to go get Micah.
Yeah.
And like Jake and I have joked on here a bunch of times about dude, how much draft pick compensation would we have to give up to get somebody to take the Kenny Clark contract up our hands?
You're
right. We joked about that a lot. That was kind of a weekly running gag for a while.
You're right.
I can't believe that the Cowboys wanted Kenny Clark. I'm just thrilled. And I get that a lot of people are sad about Kenny the human leaving.
For sure. And you should.
And I have some sadness that Kenny, the final remaining player acquired by Ted Thompson, is gone. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely elder abuse, taking advantage of Jerry Jones.
Yeah, that's
the way we did.
I don't think you can do that. That probably
if
stops
he didn't
now.
say so many horrible things, I would feel worse about it. But every time he opens his mouth, it makes me go, I'm glad we fleeced him.
Listen, he plays up every possible thing for the headline, the media storm, all of it. He always does it. He says any publicity is good publicity. Guess what? Me sowing, aha, me reaping. Oh no. That's 100% what just happened, unfortunately. So, that's tough, bud. But, that was your stance. That was your philosophy. And it kind of turned around on you. And now you're stuck kind of looking at this half rebuild with lots of money shelled out to a QB and a receiver. And they obviously just paid Deron Bland as well. It's going to be kind of these weird pseudo rebuilds. So that'll be interesting to see how all that plays out. But they said he said at the presser, we were only looking at teams who had a DT they could give us, right? And I think that
that was so interesting when he said that.
Did Jason Light did they get a call? Or something that Jerry called them and goes, hey, yeah, we got some offers on the table. Maybe you guys want Micah Parsons if you give us Vita Vea and picks. And they were probably like, I don't think so.
There's a few things that were going on. There's a few things that I think that were going on. One is that the Cowboys have really struggled to run the ball against the Packers. If you recall, our last couple of games against them, they have really struggled to run the ball against us.
Yeah.
And really had to get into a shooting match. And like, that's when our DBs really teed off and started getting, taking the game into their hands. And I think so clearly we don't know the full picture, but this was not purely a football decision for Jerry Jones. I think he clearly had some bitterness toward Micah and seemed to have a little bit of interest in sending him to a place that, in the 90s and before, like, people around the league did joke about calling Green Bay, the Siberia or the tundra and saying like, hey, if you don't shape up, I'm going to trade you to Green Bay. Like that was a thing a long time ago. And I think that there was a little bit of that lingering in there. And I also think that there were just other teams who didn't really believe Micah was actually available.
Yeah.
And the Packers were just beating down Dallas's door. And we heard a little bit about this after the trade. There was somebody in a front office in the AFC who was not a GM, who was talking to, I think it was Ian Rappaport, maybe it was Tom Pelissero, and saying like, we didn't really think this was really available. And if we had known that this is all it would take to go get Micah, you better believe we would have made a bigger offer than this. Like, I kind of can't believe we missed the boat on this one.
Got some definitely have some ideas as to who that probably is. Any thoughts, JJ, before I throw one out as who that might be?
I want to hear your theory.
So, I mean, to me, it goes back to like a team that would.
I said maybe the Bills, actually.
The Bills was one of the contenders for sure, just because I think they brought in Joey Bosa. They're trying to do a bunch of things. They've drafted a ton of defensive players, right? The Epinezas, the Gregory Rousseaus, all that stuff. Would they have tossed Ed Oliver in there to make that happen? I don't know. That would have been tricky. To me, I kind of think, as crazy as it sounds, I kind of think it was the guy who has gone on, with the team's media and said, hey, listen, this draft is a crapshoot. We need lots of picks. We'll make lots of swings because you never know. To me, it was a guy who worked closely with that guy, I imagine, up in the, Northeast.
Yeah.
Where there's a lot of crab establishments, perhaps. That would 100% make a move like this simply because they know what their window is right now, and they want that to stay open. And to have three pillar defensive players in Micah Parsons, Roquan Smith, and Kyle Hamilton, I think they would like that. And I think DaCosta would have no problem continuing to move back in the second, into the third, to have 9 fourth-round picks every year so that he could keep using it, right? Like, I think that's the team. Because I don't know who the Chiefs have to offer at defensive tackle. I
don't think it would be the Chiefs.
Like a Travis Jones on his final year of his deal as a nose tackle going to Dallas to help stop the run as he continues his ascension kind of makes sense to me.
Jerry said before he mentioned the defensive tackle, he said our first priority was we were trying to find somebody who actually had the cap space to take on the contract, which I think rules out a team like the Chiefs right away. Like they're pretty pinched at all times. And you look at the Packers, who are uniquely crazy young and contenders.
Yeah.
So the Packers just reset the edge market by a lot with Micah Parsons, made him the highest paid non-QB in the NFL. That was probably always going to be a demand.
Wait,
what?
You're telling me they made perhaps the best young defensive player the highest paid?
I'm just saying, like, doing that was never going to be on the table.
I know
for David Mulligata. He was never going to let that not be a thing, and so that means
his client's too good.
When you get a team that doesn't have the cap space to make that work, it's a non-starter for Parsons and Mulligata's side, right? And so Mulligata, I'm sure, had a short list of the teams around the league that he felt was even worth talking to in terms of, can they pay my client? Like we know that was Mulligata's priority. Number one through number 1 million priority was get him as much money as possible.
Yeah.
And we're not giving anybody a discount anywhere because we don't need to. So from there, Jerry Jones likes Kenny Clark. And I think that I think that Kenny to Dallas doesn't make no sense. For me, the big thing with Kenny is it's definitely, you're definitely gambling with the age for sure.
Yeah.
The drop off seems to have already happened, right? That it's already begun. And like schematically, I don't think it's a great fit, frankly.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's not great. I think the other team that maybe is in it like kind of almost a unique situation, who could have perhaps gotten away with it, is the Rams. Simply because Atlanta decided to give up, the middle of the second round selection plus a 1 to go get James Pierce, who they hope is about. Right? Atlanta goes and does that. The Rams have extra capital, and I know they need a QB. But you're telling me that they, wouldn't pack on 2 firsts and a little something extra for you, knowing they have that other extra 2026 first in their pocket? That they could simply then trade back again if they must, like they did last year, in order to go get the QB the year after, right? Like, that would have been a unique situation for sure for a team like that. Obviously it was an AFC's, someone in an AFC front office. But as you said, like other teams that were probably like walking out there going like, okay, what's going on? Why you didn't come to us either? Like, and it's kind of like, well, no, it's probably because Goody was like poking them on Facebook, essentially. Just kept poking them, right? Like that's it. That's the deal
for sure.
Because Jerry's doing his Jerry's Packers doing his big thing, right? And so if you're not like actively going to ask, right, you kind of think, oh, Jerry's just doing Jerry stuff again, right? Because he is. But then also he's like, well, maybe I don't want to deal with this stuff, right? And maybe people just didn't buy that was actually like a thing because Jerry's always Jerry, right?
This is the second time in the last calendar year that a savvy GM has convinced a Dallas team to part with a young ascending superstar by just convincing them that, hey, this older player and a little bit of draft capital are really what you need in order to fix your franchise.
Yeah.
Chris,
but the good news is they'll rig you the number 1 pick though, so you're not going to come off too bad here.
Dude, they're going to be picking at number 1 and number 32. That's crazy. That's crazy.
It's tough for Dallas. That was a great tweet.
Chris says, someone tell me nothing is wrong with number 1's back or anything else for that matter. From everything that we have available to us, Micah's back does not seem like it's going to be a long-term thing. Seems like this is something he can play through, and that playing through it is not necessarily going to make it worse, which is not how we feel, or not how I feel at all, about the Jayden Reed foot situation where Jayden Reed playing on his foot, number one, definitely should hamper his productivity. Yeah. And also, you are dramatically reopening the window for re-injury. I do not like this plan of letting Jayden Reed go out there and play week 1 on this foot sprain. I'm just saying, the dude, we are entering a realm here where what we are risking is like potentially really not seeing Jayden Reed playing for the Packers again due to how we are just very carelessly not playing it safe with this injury. Like, you go out there and play a couple weeks on this, re-injure it to the point where, like, you already had one surgery on it. You very well may need another surgery. Or no, he didn't get the surgery. That's the thing. He didn't get the surgery. Who did just get surgery? Oh, Nate Hobbs. Nate Hobbs just got surgery. Which again, Nate Hobbs makes me a little bit nervous too. I think if Nate Hobbs just stays on the timeline, recovering from his surgery, he should be fine. His injury is not one where you're that worried about it once he's had time for his surgery to completely heal up. But with Jayden Reed, he didn't get the surgery. He's going to go out there and play on the sprain. Could very well potentially get to the point where he's knocked out for the rest of the year. Isn't this a contract year for him?
For Jayden Reed, no. I mean, I guess you could say it technically is, right? Because you're eligible for that extension after this, but
so he would be.
He will be a free agent. Yeah, he will be a free agent in 26. But again, I mean, it knocks you out for a season, and you're kind of in like a weird scenario with Watson as well, and Doubs not coming back, and Reed's, he had all this injury stuff, and we haven't seen what he can do since early 2024, and like there's a lot of that probably that would go around. So, would the Packers go out and get somebody, like Chris Bell from Louisville for fun? Keep that receiver room churning out there, or Ryan Williams perhaps, 27. So yeah, I mean,
Brian Muffy says Bryce Underwood. Yeah,
Bryce Underwood.
We're gonna play Bryce Underwood at wide receiver. I'm good with it.
Works for me. Could play him a pass rusher. The entire broadcast said, "Oh my gosh, he looks like a pass rusher. You could play defensive end." Yeah, we'll do it then. Do it. You won't. But yeah, I think the Reed thing is a really not a great situation to be in. I agree. I think knocking him out till whatever it would take. What is it? 6, 7, 8, something like that, or is it longer? If I'm mistaken,
week
I don't know,
6, 7, 8. You're saying?
Yeah, right. Would that be? If they had taken care of this.
If they had just taken care of it, I think you're probably looking at a return by like week 6. If they had just taken care of it in the beginning. And what I don't know
that's frustrating
is like, is this just a Jayden Reed decision to not get the surgery? Like, I mean, obviously, yes, he's in charge of his own health. But like, I really wish that we had some insight into what did the doctors say? Were the doctors recommending he get the surgery? Was it kind of, middle ground? You're not really sure what to do. I wish we could know more, because from all the available information we have right now, I don't like the thought of him playing out there, because it doesn't seem, number one, like he's even healthy enough to go out there and play well for us. And then on top of that, like a whole separate issue is the issue of re-injury and like making it worse. Like, yeah, I don't know. I did want to like kind of dovetailing with the Jayden Reed thing.
It's the Parsons thing. It seems like it's just management of the pain at this point for Sunday.
Parsons, yes. Yeah.
But for Reed, obviously, there's a reason we're talking about Reed more right now, is because Reed is the one in the boot and is not doing anything and cannot do anything because he's in the boot, and he's going to try to go out there, right? Like, that's, I think, a completely different thing. right? Could they manage Parsons snaps week 1, not only because of the back, but because of like, not being in camp and doing all this stuff because he was in the middle of this negotiation? Possibly, for sure. And like that ramp up process could happen, but he's certainly going to be out there in some sort of capacity. But yeah, Reed's a really interesting one to watch just simply because, right, if he is knocked out for a while, right? Yes, okay, Mecole Hardman, right? I see that coming up in the comments about like, okay, they can just elevate him, right? And then, oh well, he'll be fine, he'll be the same player, and it's like, it depends on what you think of Reed, right? If you think of Reed the second half of 2024, I don't think we want the same player. But yeah, the speed element does disappear just that much more, from your unit without Reed as well as Watson. Does it thrust? It could have fun thrusting Savion into a role. That's certainly a choice that could
potentially.
But it probably again opens the door for a lot more 12, and I think that's everybody goes through these, right? Doesn't derail everything. Haha, nice call back there from myself. I'm the Obama meme of the medal on yourself type of thing there. But yeah, everybody's gonna go through this. So it's nice that what looks like is gonna be a starting offensive line unit with a sixth man who can pretty much back up anybody other than probably Elgton. So that's at least a good thing. And then obviously the hope that Belton continues. But the receiver room, there's a reason they drafted a couple guys. They feel like there's some urgency that needs to get going here as we enter year 3 for 2 of them and year 4 for another, and 4th year that hopefully begins at some point down the line, but not too early.
We have this latest depth chart for the Packers, and our starting wide receivers are Romeo Doubs, Matthew Golden, and Jayden Reed. So Wicks, not listed as a starter. I don't think that's really that surprising. No. Seems I just need week 1 to get here. I need to see Wicks playing and figure out like where should my emotions be on Wicks, because he kind of looked good in camp, vanished. He's been hurt. Just now he's not a starter. Like what? And it's not surprising that he's not a starter. Like it would be surprising if Doubs or Reed were not starters, right?
Yeah.
What's up, Jake?
Well, the door is just creaking open with this Reed injury, right? JJ, us Wicks
stands
absolutely. Are holding on for dear life. Like just slightly opened right now. So that's the positive note. Wicks, if this injury persists and Reed has to get surgery eventually and has to sit out for a number of games, as we already said, would love if that already happened. So he'd be ready to go. But if Wicks is ready to show something, now's the time. It is time. It is time. So
I want to hit on a couple things on this, depth chart that I hate. There's a few things I hate on here.
Okay.
Number 1. So Jacob Monk hurt right now, right? He's on IR. And Sean Ryan, the backup center.
Yeah.
Terrible situation because Elgton Jenkins got a back issue right now. We don't know if he's going to be ready to play in week 1 at all. No idea. I don't know about you. I do not want Sean Ryan out there at center. I'm very terrified about that prospect. Number 2 thing that I hate.
Way to fix it. There's one way that you can. I don't like it because it moves. Yeah, it moves the best player to center.
I would much rather play Zach Tom.
But
dude, Zach Tom at center,
with Morgan at right tackle, right?
Morgan at right tackle.
I think it works.
No, Morgan at left tackle, and I'd rather figure out with Rashid or Belton at right tackle. I don't know if Morgan can play right tackle.
Belton certainly can't.
I don't think Jordan Morgan can play right tackle.
I would rather
Jordan Morgan or Anthony Belton at right tackle, like that. Just roll the dice on that one. I don't think either one of them can play right tackle.
I think
much rather see Rashid Walker at right tackle than Jordan Morgan, I would rather see Sean Ryan at right tackle than see Sean Ryan at center.
She'd ever play there? feel like he did.
I think Rasheed played left tackle at Penn State, did he not?
I think, yeah, I would assume. I mean, he
Drew
definitely
votes
did.
for
I
Morgan
think
at right
it's just
tackle
more
and
of-
Walker at left tackle. I don't know what makes anybody think Morgan can play right tackle. I mean, I'd far rather see him at right tackle than at right guard, I guess. I don't want to see Jordan Morgan at right guard.
Well, he did for 29 snaps in 2019. Let's see how that works.
Coach Len says I want to see Belton at guard.
I think we all do.
Drew says, "What makes you think Walker can?" I don't think we have a lot of right tackles here. Like Belton is supposed to be a right tackle, but we all think that he's just not ready to play. Sean Ryan was supposed to be a right tackle, but every time we've ever seen him at right guard, he's been terrible. But also, usually if you move a tackle into guard, it doesn't look good.
Yeah, Belton's another one though. That's like he only played on the left side collegiately, and I think the tricky thing is
I thought Belton was a right tackle.
No, left tackle, 2,200 snaps. So it's essentially three guys.
Oh my gosh, I got that totally back up.
Yeah, so it's essentially three guys who really haven't got over there, and it's I think we got into this mode where it was like, oh, it's no problem. It's not going to be an issue for anybody when you draft a guy to kick him over there. And it's like, no, it is. Some people like literally cannot do it. Others had no problem with it. Like Joe Alt last season did great at right tackle. He flips over there. And obviously probably this season now with Slater's injury, he's going to flip back over to left. But some guys just can't. So it's a tricky spot as with Sheed and Morgan and Belton. It's not an easy deal, and I'm double checking on Morgan, but I don't remember if he did it all either. That's gonna be a no. It's gonna be a no for Jordan Morgan. Actually, 0. That's the lowest of any of them. Not that Rasheed Walker's 29 snaps at right tackle against Idaho in 2019 is something that we're like, oh yes, definitely. So Kennard did, I think, a couple things. If I'm not mistaken.
In the NFL, he hasn't played much, but he played right tackle and left guard, and then he was a right tackle in college.
Yeah, right tackle, bunch of snaps.
I think he was at right. I want to say he was right tackle every single year.
Yeah, he was. I mean, there was his first season. He had it was pretty split as far as left.
2018, he flipped. Yeah, every single week he flipped. That's crazy. He never played the same tackle spot 2 games in a row. Now notice I specified games because the weeks he played were 3 and then 8, and he played weeks 8 through 13.
Yeah, weird little thing there. It was kind of a flip back and forth, but the rest of the time he built up again an astonishing 2,364 total snaps at right tackle. So he's got the most experience over there, but is that something you want to do week 1? Hopefully it doesn't come to that.
Well, and
Kennard is prepared for everything.
Kennard is listed as the backup right guard, but I have to. I really suspect though he's not right guard 1. I think that other guys who are listed at other spots on here are right guard 1.
Yeah,
Sean Ryan is the starting right guard. But Jordan Morgan is not listed as a starter, and so I think if Sean Ryan went down, you would see Jordan Morgan in there, not Darian Kennard. They just have Morgan listed as the starting left.
At the very least, I think Morgan's the backup, probably in 3 spots at the very least. On this thing, like the presumed backup, but you can't put his name on there 18 times, right? So they put Ryan's on there twice, but But yeah, Morgan presumably backup left tackle, probably left guard as well, and right guard at the very least. Potentially right tackle too. Very possible it's all 4, but it's almost certainly at the very least 3. So, maybe Van Ness can kick over there while Parsons is playing defensive end. Things we got to think about.
Well, I mean, I think it's odd that Colby Wooden is listed as a starting defensive tackle on this offensive line. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen very much. Do you? I think we're going to see Lukas Van Ness out there. It's just that,
well,
he's a defensive end.
Well, I think he's bulking up to play defensive tackle, which, again, we'll see.
You notice that the guy listed behind Colby Wooden is Nazir Stackhouse, and there's nobody else listed there. So, like, this second defensive tackle spot is your nose tackle, and they're just saying that Stackhouse isn't ready.
Which, I mean,
I think that's
for a UDFA.
I think that's really, like, I think if Wyatt comes off the field, Wyatt's not really going to come off the field, but if Wyatt comes off the field,
you thinking they might just kind of push Wooden up to Wyatt's and then Stackhouse comes in, is what you're thinking?
Potentially. I also think that you're going to see a hefty amount of Van Ness and Brooks in there as well.
Perhaps in passing downs, I don't love the idea of Van Ness being a 3 tech. Especially like when you have your base out there, I feel like, because he did this at Dallas a bunch. Parsons is roaming everywhere, right? Like he is doing like linebacker stuff, but he's also, again, with that jam front, he's basically an edge rusher essentially when you get 5 on the line, and it doesn't sacrifice anything in terms of Gary and Van Ness being able to anchor and set an edge, right? So I think it's possible that they do that with Van Ness, but again, I imagine we'll see it way more on third downs than we will on early stuff, just because I do think if that happens, teams start seeing that, they will start picking on that matchup and probably should. But again, if the one way it does work is if, again, which this defense does a lot of, right, is kind of attacking one gap, right? Everybody's got one at a time. You don't have like your true nose in the 3-4 necessarily doing the 2 gapping work, right? That's not necessarily happening as much here. But again, it can depend though on, how Hafley wants to run things versus others who have run this. So it can change, but it seems like very often, right, with Hafley, it's a lot of, this is your gap, this is yours. Hey, linebacker, your gap is this, right? And so that maybe can help make it work, but it certainly helps when you have somebody who can eat a ton of that space. So
if Colby Wooden is ready to play here in year 3, that is fantastic. That solves a lot of our problems. Certainly. And frankly, I'm not sure, we had a question here. Matt is asking, how much will Kenny Clark be missed? He's going to be missed tremendously from the standpoint of, he just didn't miss time, and he ate up a ton of snaps on this defense. And, a couple of people are mentioning, like, hey, I'm not sure, so-and-so is in game shape, so-and-so. Like, and by the way, like, this is a huge reason to come in with some low expectations, moderate to low expectations from Micah Parsons early on.
For sure.
Yeah, he's got the back thing. He has not been practicing with Dallas, does not know our playbook, and is not in football shape.
Wait. You're telling me I shouldn't expect 10 pressure, 3 sack game week 1?
I think you shouldn't expect him to be out there playing a sizable percentage of our snaps in week 1.
I agree.
Like, if he's only out there for 30% of the defensive snaps.
I'd rather see him terrorize Connerly on Thursday the most. That would be a lot of fun. But yeah, no, I tend to agree, and I think I think a lot of people, Brian bringing up it's even fronts with a lot of one gapping, which that's what we saw a lot from Hafley, I think in this 4-3, and I think it's going to be a 4-3 as much as it may at times, if they go into that jam front, it might look like a 34 a little bit, right? But I think some of the principles will be kind of, again, sticking with this 4-3. I know this is a media-made depth chart, but there's a reason that 3 linebackers are on there, because in base, there's going to essentially be, kind of that Sam backer. So I do think Parsons is going to take part in some of that, even though it doesn't say that here. Just because having Parsons,
they undeniably have the personnel to be able to switch between 3-4 and 4-3 at will.
They do.
Like they're the biggest question mark for them is, do they have the defensive tackles to run a 4-3 without having, just doing a front of Gary, Wyatt, Van Van Ness or Gary Wyatt, Parsons, but if you go Gary Wyatt, Van Ness, and then you got Micah screaming off one side, and the other side is either Edgerrin or Quay, and I'm kind of happy with doing either one of those options.
Yeah.
I almost feel better about that than I do about trying to figure out, like, hey, how much can we rely on Colby Wooden or Carl Brooks or one of our two rookies or Lukas Van Ness to, hold it down at 3-tech or whatever for us.
Yeah. Well, I think, and yeah, I think Coach Lynn hits on that a little bit of like, there'd probably be a lot of nickel, probably all year, right? But I think the tricky part about playing Detroit is that Detroit could live in that weird 11.5 personnel world, which makes it, I think, trickier to match, right? They have...
Wait, when you say 11.5, you're talking about like Laporta is what makes that 11.5 or what?
Laporta and maybe even Tesla too.
Okay.
Because he blocks so well. So that kind of, they can live in that like gray area, right? With, if Laporta's the second tight end on the field, right? With they're better inline player, like he's going to be, he can be attached to the line. He can move out to slot. They can put him on the boundary to get a favorable matchup in the slot if they want it. Like they can do a lot of that stuff where even when Laporta's on the field, if Tesla's the third receiver, right, we know he can block really well, right? I think, we've looked at the preseason stuff and it's nice. Obviously that, the talent level is going to up for you, right, as you go into regular season play. So he might not be as productive as a receiver, but he certainly blocks well enough, and he has that bought in mentality to where they ask him to do an insert block, he's probably going to be able to do it, right? And you still have Jameson and Amon-Ra St. Brown out there. Like, I think as Coach Lynn's asking if Tesla blocks that well, I think the two things that were really like favorable to Tesla in the process was his blocking, and then also that athleticism that he posted, right? That those testing numbers plus what you see on film of kind of the speed and fluidity that he played with. So that was kind of the two things which the size was included in that, right? But that's kind of where his, okay, let's build this guy into something. I think those were the two draw-ins. So the 4-2-5, they're probably going to be some areas where they could get outflanked a little bit. And again, that's why it's nice to have a guy like Edgerrin Cooper, who, presumably should be able to kind of neutralize some threats because of the speed he has, right? There's a play, if you haven't seen it at this point, where from last season, if you don't remember, right, against Jacksonville, where he's on the line of scrimmage and then he had to run the pole all the way and he broke up the pass. Like, just one of the craziest things you'll see from a linebacker. And so having him out there certainly helps in a lot of those situations. So I think it's going to be a really, really fun chess match between Morton plus, I think, Campbell, right? I think there's some collab there, right? I don't think Morton's getting like every key, right? He's not, he may not have the penthouse key, right, in the apartment complex, but he probably has quite a few of them. I think Campbell probably still has that, and we'll see if Morton earns it. But those two versus Hafley, I think, is going to be a really, really, really interesting chess match that goes on Sunday. And I know we have somebody who's in here who's a Viking fan, and I want to get to him because I know he asked about how much Kenny was being missed. He also asked, I got Golden in fantasy. How will that be? And I think it'll be pretty good. I think that'll be a good deal.
But
I think
I mean, good call. When you look at the Packers wide receiver room and you're trying to figure out who will be the wide receiver one in targets, it's hard to figure out with Jayden Reed not being healthy. It's hard to figure out who stands out as an obvious candidate besides Golden. Now, technically last year, the guy with the most targets was Wicks. And so, if Reed is not healthy and Wicks does get a lot of playing time over him and plays well the way that we've seen that we know he can, if he can just clamp those drops.
Yeah.
I still find him less likely to lead the team in targets than Matthew Golden. Jordan Love's very excited about him. He seems like he's, in camp and in the preseason games, like he has it. He's here. Here's the thing with Matthew Golden. We knew about the athleticism. We knew the things that you can't coach, right? The stuff that's like, well, here's why we're drafting him in the first round, because you can't coach the ability to go up and make this grab and make this look effortless. But the stuff that you can coach, the route running, he looked really freaking good in the preseason. I could not believe, especially in that first preseason game we were watching, how crisp he looked. Good release off the line of scrimmage. His timing and his where on the field he'd make his turns, like it was all crisp. He looked way more seasoned than I was expecting him to look in year one, let alone this early in the year. And like that's the kind of thing, there's a lot of things in the preseason where you're like, okay, that was cool, but how predictive is that? Well, being able to run a route the right way, like going up against a starting caliber cornerback versus the kind of guy you're going to see in the preseason, that's not going to affect how well what route to run and how to run it. I am hoping that Golden can put up 1,000-yard season. I think the floor for like successful season from our first round rookie is like 700 yards. The Packers wide receivers over the last, half dozen years here historically keep putting up like 300 and 400 yard rookie seasons. Like, miss me with that crap. I don't want that out of Matthew Golden. I want us giving him the opportunities to where he can, with ease, put up 700 yards. And then at the end of the season, you look back and you're like, okay, there were some missed opportunities here where you do point to him being a rookie and saying, yeah, you could have had 1,000 and you're going to go back and grind the tape this offseason. You're going to come back and put up 1,000-yard season in year 2. And we gave you the opportunities. You did a lot with them for being a rookie. I think if he gets less than 700 yards, I would be expecting that he had missed some time, or else I would be frustrated with his usage. I think he has the talent that we need to be giving him the opportunities as long as he's healthy. That 700 is not a fanciful stretch. And like you look at what Justin Jefferson in his rookie year, he had what was it, 1,600 yards or 1,500 yards, something crazy like that.
I think it was like 1442.
So like, you don't need to be you don't need to be putting up Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson's numbers in year one, out of fear of like, hey, is this random freaking podcaster gonna come on here and call your rookie season a failure? But like, I think that 1,000 yards is a pretty good bar. And again, as we've talked about a couple times on here, the Matt LaFleur offense spreads the ball around so much that like even Devontae really was not cracking 1,000 yards most of the time. He kept putting up 997, 999, 994 yards in a season. Like just almost getting there, and sure, like snag one more catch and it's not a thing. You're over 1,000 yards, but like even with as focal of a point as Devontae was for the offense, like you still have to grade. You grade that curve on this Matt LaFleur sort of spectrum of like they spread the ball around so much that 1,000 yards is kind of hard to get. So that's why I like moved that line down to 700. But I that's what I'd like to see from him. How many yards for Kraft? That's a good question. I'm trying to remember how many he had last year. I have it right here.
So really quick, as we moved to Kraft, a couple of quick things. I think I'm not totally surprised that Golden looked really good as a route runner, to be honest. I thought the through break transition efficiency was always there. He could lull people to sleep and off coverage. That was really good. I think the only thing was that you have the frame for press, right? And that was, I think, the biggest concern. Can you combat it? Can you avoid it, right? All of these things like that, I think, is what will continue to be the focus for him more than anything. Justin Jefferson did have 1,400 as a rookie on the dot. I don't think you need to expect that. 1,000 for, when there's 17 games isn't like an extreme hurdle to clear. However, I do think, like, I'll put this number out there because I think this is where I'm going to land if you're making me call it. I'm going to go 892 and 9 is what I'm calling. I think 9 touchdowns, about 892 in terms of the yardage, just because I think, as everybody's kind of pointing out, like, one, they've got an absolute workhorse in Jacobs, who's going to take a lot of the carries, right? If they're successful running the football, he'll be a heavy part of that. I do think, again, Doubs isn't going anywhere probably. If Wicks catches the ball, he'll be a factor. And, of course, Tucker Kraft, right? And so I think if you're making me call it, that's where I'm going to be, right? What did I say? 892 and 9, something like that, is what I said.
You did, yeah.
I think
Kraft had 700 yards last year,
and that's a big number for him. Like, that's a big number, people. Like, I know it's.
I think he'll put up about that again.
Yeah,
he missed a tiny bit of time last year, but I think he'll put up about that many again.
Yeah. No.
The other thing too, people have said a couple times here, 17 games. I don't know why we're talking about 17 games. Like, we're going to be playing in at least 18 games. We're not missing the playoffs.
Just right. No, I think they're just counting as, like, again, a regular season. Regular season get to 1,000 type of thing is what they're talking about with 17, right? Because it used to be 16, right? It was kind of like, okay, get 60 yards and,
sure,
a game, and then, but I think the added game makes you kind of want maybe over 1,050 as to kind of the new bar to clear, quote unquote, right? Rather than 1,000. So I think that's why they're saying it's a little easier. The other thing, right, is the expectations, right? They could overwhelm you, and if we get too crazy with the expectations, don't maybe feel underwhelmed if he gets, like what I said, 892 and 9. But, like, don't forget, like, again, he was the number 4 overall pick, so he probably should have delivered more than this. I do think Kyler is part of the problem a little bit with this, but Marvin Harrison Jr., 885 and 8 as a rookie. And it maybe seemed worse than that, and it's probably because of the expectation for him, right? Now,
it seemed a lot worse
others,
than that.
Yeah, it really wasn't that
like
bad.
That's really not a bad rookie.
It isn't
stat line, but I think everybody who watched him felt like it was a disappointing rookie season.
Well, because of all the miscommunication that was very, very evident between him and the QB, who has to answer his own questions this year, no question. The other thing, really quick, is if the start is slow, don't be surprised. Okay, I'm gonna go through this really fast so that everybody understands the golden trio last year in terms of 100-yard, games and all that stuff. I want to put this out there. Now, Neighbors, he's a different cat, okay? He had 200-yard games, 2 of them in his first 4, okay? That's not fair. He's different. He's a different beast. But the 2 others who had the late season surge, right? Lab McConkey and Brian Thomas Jr. Lab McConkey didn't have a 100-yard game until week 8. Till week 8, he did not have a 100-yard game. He opened with 39, 26, 44, 67, 43, 46 before that first 100-yard game. Okay?
And it was right around there that I dropped him from my fantasy team, and the guy who won the league picked him up.
Always wait for that late rookie season surge, folks, for some of these guys. But he went on an absolute heater down the stretch, and then obviously had 9 for 197 and a touchdown in the playoff game. Brian Thomas Jr., his first 100-yard game was at week 5. His second one was in week 15. Week 15 was his second one. No, it was it was way later. So, yeah, he got to 80 a few times in between that, right? And he had 94 in his second game, but that was on two catches. But again, like, he opened 47, 94, 48, 86, had the 122, then went back. Here's some fun stuff. 27, 89, 60, 22, 12, 82, 76, and then we'll get on that heater down the stretch. So don't be surprised if him, right, not to get to other teams, but like, Ibuka maybe doesn't start out that crazy or anything like that. It took JSN time to get heated up down the stretch, right? St. Brown did the exact same thing. If you go look at his in 21, it was like, oh, Lully to sleep. Looks like he's a fine contributor. Oh my gosh. Once you got to November, it was like, oh, he's turned into Cooper Kupp again. So that second half for the rookies is where it's going to really take shape. And so if he doesn't have a lot early, like, don't panic for one, because I think that's going to happen.
But also a little bit different situation of early. We just don't know who is even going to be available for the Packers. Right. Honestly,
that's fair.
We may have already touched on who will be the Packers' leading receiver in targets for the first month. Might be Tucker Kraft. Honestly, it's quite plausible between him and Romeo. If Romeo is able to stay healthy, and maybe it's taking Golden a little bit to kind of get going. Coach Len asked, where will the room come from Musgrave's 500 yards? Well, hopefully he can crack 500 career yards this season. He only had 45 yards last year total. And so he would, at that pace, he would need to play 3 more seasons to hit 500 career yards. So not expecting him to be a big factor in this passing game. Maybe. We'll see.
Seems like says, how many games? 22-yard, 25-yard a catch guy, right? And I don't know how many of those we're going to see, but
he had,
hopefully for his sake, plenty.
But. So last year he had 1 catch for 6 yards, 1 catch for 3 yards, 3 catches for 13 total yards, and 1 catch for 4 yards, and then 1 catch for 10 yards. So 10 yards was his longest. Like, I know we think about him as this, big chunk play getter. He sure as heck wasn't last year. Toolfit says, how many games will need to be in a season for a Bears QB to hit 4K or 30 touchdowns? Look, if anybody's going to do it, Caleb probably has the talent to do it. But like current pace, like the number is like 25 games, frankly. Because in 17 games, they're getting like 3/4 of the way there. So, you're going to need to get like 22, 25 games probably for them to be sniffing those numbers.
This is true.
We do have to turn our focus to the Lions. I'm kind of trying to hurry us that way a little bit because we hit the 1 hour mark and we really, really need to get in on this. Matt Doubs said, I'm a Vikings fan, but I'd be curious to hear you guys' opinion of J.J. McCarthy. Minnesota media has him as the next Drew Brees. That's where it comes from. I've been wondering, okay, I have spent some time on Saints Twitter recently, and I have seen Saints fans getting into it with Vikings fans, and they are pissed about the J.J. McCarthy, Drew Brees comparisons, and I was really wondering where this came from. National media has J.J. McCarthy as the next Mac Jones. What are your thoughts? Jake, I feel like I've answered this a couple times. Do you want to take it?
Sure. I think he landed in the best situation possible, right? Like that, it is. It's
absolutely
the best situation possible. And then they added.
He's driving a Lamborghini.
Yeah, and they added a right guard and a center to the picture that have been playing steady and have experience, right? Like that's the best thing that they could have done for him, maybe other than add another receiver, which they went back and got Thielen, who was still doing enough to help Bryce Young's career get in the right direction last season in Carolina. So I think like for McCarthy, I don't think he's mad about a Drew Brees comparison, right?
It's reverse. The Saints fans are mad about the Drew Brees comparisons, saying, why are you talking about Drew Brees with your freaking, second-year quarterback who's never thrown a pass? Like, keep Drew Brees' name out of your mouth is basically what the Saints fans are saying.
Yeah, I think, again, it's a great system to have where now they've got, they go get Jordan Mason. They're going to be able to run the ball pretty darn well. And again, with Thielen coming back, you've kind of eased that a little bit of that concern, while Addison's out. And I thought Naylor was also maybe fighting injury as well, but maybe he's ready to go. Doubs will have to let us know on that one. But again, Jefferson is the ultimate, like O'Connell's got him in like number one in the progression, even on rollouts, right? O'Connell does a great job designing easy buckets for the QB, Something that did not happen if you watched the North Carolina game last night at all. No drawn-up stuff for their QB out there to help him get a rhythm. So that's the one thing that's going to be really helpful, right? Is you have the right play caller and designer to give him some easy stuff, build a rhythm. I do think McCarthy rips it over the middle. Like, he can rip that sucker over the middle, and with a player like Hawkinson, that certainly helps as well. You got Jefferson, who runs digs probably better than anybody on planet Earth, which is super helpful. And I think he's got enough of the arm to, thread the honey hole plenty of times, right? When you see some cover two, it's just really about, for McCarthy, is physically it's all there, right? He's going to be able to run, scamper around if the knee's good to go, like all of that stuff. But it's going to come down to how fast does he process, right? How does the speed of the game look to him when it's, not the preseason and not at Michigan, right? Like, those are the two things that, I think are going to make or break him, right? That's where you go from Drew Brees or Mac Jones, right? That's where, Caleb's had the struggles right now. And Bo Nix started to figure it out. Jayden Daniels has it figured out. He knows where he needs to go with the ball, right? He's not hanging around, waiting to see if this is going to happen. You have to anticipate. You have to be moving at a speed that you probably haven't moved before mentally. And so that's the thing. He doesn't have a lot of experience, right, in college, right? He didn't have a ton of starts, right? He doesn't have Bo Nix's 61 starts. Purdy is 50+. Daniels had a ton, right? Penix had a ton. So it's like he doesn't have that yet. Cam Ward had a ton. So the good news is he's in a perfect spot where it's not going to be, everything is going to be asked of him to do all of this, right? He's not going to have to be Joe Burrow tomorrow or in 5 days, 6 days, I guess. They play on Monday, right? He's not going to have to do that. So I think that's really beneficial to him. And I truly, again, no ill will other when we're, in between the lines playing each other on Sundays or anything like that. I'm interested to see how it goes because I think it's one of the more fascinating storylines we're going to watch all year, is just because everybody else has shown some promise in some capacity that has played from that QB class. And it's like, wow, so are we going to see some promise again? Are we going to get it from the 6th of 6, right? So I think that's going to be fun to watch.
It almost feels like, that graphic of the Washington Redskins coaching staff from, back when Kyle Shanahan was there, and it's like every 2 years they update the graphic to include a new hot young head coach. And it's like, 4 years ago when we were passing this graphic around, there were only 3 guys on here, and now there's 7. Like, it's kind of that thing. My huge concern with JJ is that, like, Michigan didn't ask him to do anything at all, like not one thing,
which hurts when you don't have a lot of experience anyway, right? That doesn't help.
Yeah,
like, they didn't put enough on your plate in the limited amount of time you started there, which is a difficult thing. Yeah, it's tricky, but if I were to put faith in anybody to handle it, O'Connell, and then there's a few others that would be on that short list. So he's on the short list of like, hey, if I need to send this guy to somebody, who am I going to? Like, for your sake and then the Vikings fans' sake, he's in great hands to do so. Right? If he doesn't do it, great news. You'll probably find some other guy. Don't know. Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, Johnny Manziel, whoever. Probably do just fine.
Johnny Manziel.
Afterwards.
Wait,
so doesn't really matter.
How's Kevin O'Connell going to get Bryce Young? You're telling me that this is Bryce Young's breakout year and Carolina's going to be good?
I think it is, but I'm just saying, if that, again, I'm not always right. Never will claim to be so, but if
Anthony Richardson obviously probably going to be available.
Yes.
And like, okay, I was crazy high on Anthony Richardson as a prospect, and I think it's safe to say that it's not just the Colts, that was a big miss by me. I think that's pretty safe to say at this point, that it's not just the Colts. It's more Anthony than the Colts.
Such an experience thing too, right? 13 starts, probably should have gone back to go get at least 12 more.
Probably.
And that would have either A, given, I think, people more confidence, or B, just kind of been like, okay, well, yeah, there's just not enough here right now. So That's true. Do not accept defeat, right? The Darnold stands were back out in full force last year when he was cruising in Minnesota. So it's never done, right? It's never done.
Dude, I was on
Javon Baker stands. We're not done. I promise. We're not done. I'm not leaving.
I was such a massive Darnold believer the entire time he was in New York. And then when he went to Carolina, I pumped the brakes a little bit. And I said, I don't think anybody can succeed in Carolina. And then he went to San Francisco, and I was like, it is on, baby. It is on. Darnold season for sure.
Yeah.
And when it didn't work out in San Francisco, I finally gave up. And so, when he finally had his breakout year with the Vikings, I was off the bandwagon. I had finally gotten off the bandwagon right before it was time for that sucker to actually get going.
They were passing around the Panthers photo of him and Baker in Carolina going like, what happened? What happened here?
Hey, you know what, though? I will say I never at any point lost faith in Baker when he was in Carolina.
Well, he showed too much in Cleveland. Which it was just so weird. Cleveland does what Cleveland does, kind of like Jerry does what Jerry does. But
Baker to me is so clearly a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, and he is so underrated by absolutely everybody, and it just drives me crazy. You ready to talk about the Lions?
Yeah, let's do it.
I want to highlight a guy who is under the radar for non-Lions fans, or I guess was Hard Knocks in Detroit this year or last year or something? Did Hard Knocks go there? I've never. The only Hard Knocks season I ever watched was the Raiders one with Antonio Brown. That's the only time I've ever tuned into Hard Knocks.
Was this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, they went to Detroit, I think, or something, or there was something, some sort of a documentary about the Detroit Lions. I think it was Hard Knocks.
Yeah,
and I guess the people who watched that have heard of this guy, but Grant Stewart is a captain for them.
2022, they were there.
I don't know if Stewart was. What year did he come out of the? Let's see. So Stewart was the he was Mr. Irrelevant in the 2021 draft. Okay, so 2022.
Okay.
All right. So he is a captain. He was drafted by Tampa, and then he got traded to the Colts, and then was cut, and then signed with the Lions. So he's a captain. As far as I can tell, this is a special teams thing. He's a captain on special teams. And I know there are a lot of Lions fans who were like kind of shocked that Anzalone was not a captain, and they're like, "Why is Grant Stewart a captain and Anzalone isn't?" And I think it's Grant is a special teams captain. But maybe just be on the lookout for Grant making some plays here on special teams. Side note, I can't stand Anzalone. He's one of the few NFL players I just truly dislike. I like Jack Campbell.
No.
I just can't with Anzalone.
No.
I really can't. But so looking at this defensive depth chart here for the Lions, one thing that stands out for me right here is Tyleik Williams is listed as a starting defensive lineman for him. I don't get the sense that that's actually the case. Like that you might see more Roy Lopez early on over Tyleik. In that like the goal is to work toward Tyleik being more of a full-time starter, but you might see more Roy Lopez. But I think that there's also a sense that, they may be playing some 3-down fronts out there with Davenport and Reeder and Hutchinson, and just putting a lot of DBs out there in the field. That you get Reed and Robertson and Branch and Joseph out there and Terrion Arnold. That it's there's going to be some nickel looks out there where they are potentially only trying to rush 3. And it's very tough to get a read on what the offense or defense are going to look like, since we have 2 new play callers, and we know that Dan Campbell's just not that involved in that standpoint. And so how much continuity can we rely on from last year to inform what we think they're going to do this year? I don't know. And I don't know that Lions media knows either. It seems like week 1, everybody's going to be learning a lot about what the 2025 Lions are going to look like. I think as Packer fans, we're, a little spoiled, very spoiled with how much coverage there is of all the offseason programming that goes on in Green Bay, that we have all this training camp footage and just feet on the ground, boots on the ground, reporters talking about what's going on the whole way through. Like, that does not exist in Detroit. And it's not that it's locked down. It's just that there's not a lot of media coverage there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think a couple things defensively, right? Noah Lee McNeil, which we'll see when he's on the what the timeline looks like. I think he's on IR. I don't think he's on PUP. I don't remember. He's on one of those. But yeah, we'll see what the timeline is for that. That's really why I think Tyleek's this obviously listed as the starter, right? He would definitely not be if McNeil was healthy. I do feel like
he is on PUP.
He's on PUP. Okay.
Olin McNeil's on PUP.
So
along with Levi and Wuzurike,
Malcolm Rodriguez too. Wow.
Yeah, different position, obviously. But like McNeil and Onwuzurike both being on PUP here, that's brutal. And that's why, like I said, who knows anything about Roy Lopez?
Not many.
That's just not a household name.
No.
It does sound like he is going to be getting, rivaling Tyleek in playing time. I like DJ Reader is going to be out there the entire game
as much as physically possible. Yeah.
And so then how much is Tyleek playing next to him versus Roy Lopez?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have questions about this defensive line. And like, how much does Marcus Davenport have in the tank right now is a question I have as well. Like, there's so many questions about the defense. And like, okay, the early games do favor the defense. Offenses are sluggish at the beginning of the year. They're trying to get going.
The Bengals can attest to that.
Mistakes really favor the defense. Yeah. But like, you go across this defensive line, just question after question. How healthy is Aiden Hutchinson? Is he gonna be back to form? Or is this leg injury something that's gonna hamper him going forward? We are just not gonna know. Nobody can know until we see him. Seems like he's fine in camp.
Certainly.
But who knows? What do they have in Tyleek? Tyleek was a very up and down player at Ohio State. Pretty fantastic run defender, especially late in his career, but he was very up and down. Marcus Davenport, do we think he has anything? And then you got a couple guys who are, missing it. McNeil and Muzurike and Rodriguez. And then, that's not even touching on the whole cornerback issue. Like, is Terrion Arnold going to be an NFL starting cornerback this year? Like, he was freaking terrible last year. And that defensive back room is a little thin. Like, if they didn't have 2 all-world safeties, I think you'd be pretty darn concerned about this overall defense. Now, it helps that like Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph are, certainly top 3 safety tandem in the league. I'm not as high on Brian Branch, but like Kirby Joseph is out of this world. He was the best safety in football last year. And is he going to repeat? He's probably still going to be crazy good this year.
How dare you say that?
Well, what I like about Xavier McKinney is that he's not dirty. Xavier McKinney is not out there trying to hospitalized
best.
opposing offensive players
last year because he had a lot of picks. That's why.
Xavier McKinney had a bunch of picks.
Well, I'm not saying McKinney was the best safety in football last season. That's not my argument.
Are you saying Kyle Hamilton?
Yeah. But that's one of the funny notes of the offseason is people talking about like the Lions, some of the Lions side of things of like, well, McKinney can't do that. You know, what happens when McKinney doesn't create turnovers? He created turnovers a lot last year. And it's like, well, we can just go no you with Kirby Joseph, my friend. You know, so what are we doing? What are we standing here for? We're like those two dudes giving each other the bird on the street, right? That video, right? That's essentially what that is, you know. So that's what's funny about that. But I think you pointed out. I think again, the defensive line on the interior.
That's me and Lions fans since I live here in Michigan. You are you're the hey, what's your name, Tony? That's you, from on the other side of the lake.
That's true.
Lions.
I do walk out to the lake sometimes and call out the folks across in Michigan.
Hey Tony, F you.
Yeah, but I think you highlighted the two things. Yeah, what's the interior rotation going to look like? Right? How's everybody going to look opposite DJ Reader? And the other problem defensively for them is, as you said, will teams be able to pick on Terrion Arnold again this year? Will they be able to do that? Because last year we saw what it was. It was a lot of panicking. It was a lot of penalties. Those two go hand in hand. When you don't trust the footwork and you don't trust the athleticism and you don't trust your discipline, you start getting out of control, panic, and that's where the flags come in. That cannot happen again this year with him. Otherwise, you know, who knows? Maybe Rocky Sin's going to get out of the field, which is not something you want to hear either, unfortunately.
No, but I think that DJ Reed and Rocky Sin as your two starting corners for like the bulk of the year sounds realistic. Now, the other thing to consider is, do they put Brian Branch back at corner out of necessity? Because they did that and I thought it went quite poorly. Brian Branch at safety, pretty darn good. Brian Branch at corner, very not good. But they've had to play him at corner kind of a lot out of necessity. And then, you know, you look at, Terrion Arnold's bad. Ennis Rakestraw was awful. And I don't know, is he on IR or something? Like what why is he not even on this list here?
Yeah, he is.
I mean, but like addition by subtraction, like Ennis Rakestraw is awful.
I actually think he's on season-ending IR.
I'm just gonna search for him.
Pretty sure. I thought the shoulder injury
season-ending
knocked him out for the season. I'm pretty sure, which is not ideal.
But like I said,
which is why
I don't know how big of a loss that is because he's truly terrible.
I think that's why his experience thing is at 2. Because they assume he's already going to have 2 seasons under his belt at this point.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because
that's interesting.
He's done,
yeah,
right?
I do see that.
Is that potentially why? Maybe
that is interesting.
Maybe they say
it makes sense. His season is over, so sure.
That's what I mean. I think that's what.
And like, what's he? You know,
I think that's what makes sense.
I think he'd have to go commit a felony to get released between now and next year. But it's also Detroit, so I don't know if that would move the needle for him.
Yeah, but that's it, because that's the thing with the Rakestraw, and you mentioned it with Branch. It's like Branch is good at the nickel when you can play match and zone principles, right? When he's manned up because you have to send 5-6 guys because you don't have any pass rush anymore, it's not going to look pretty, right? And that's what they had to do down the stretch. And so Reed is, basically they're ship steadier at corner at this point. And if it's not him, and he goes down for an extended part of time, this is a problem again, right? It's very clearly an issue again. The DBs
they have 0 corners or, just DB. Like they got 2 guys listed at safety, but 0 corners on their practice squad.
Yeah.
And then on their active roster, 0 corners on PUP. On their active roster, they have 5 corners.
They do have.
They have Avonte Maddox. But he's 29 years old.
Yeah. And he was a nickel.
I mean, this is
right in Philly a lot. So I don't imagine they want him on the boundary, but you never know in desperate times.
Didn't he play a lot of strong safety? thought he played some strong safety.
I'm checking PFF right now.
Like, people talk crap about the Packers cornerback room.
So 2,000 in the box, 885 at outside corner, 330 at free safety. Most of that was year one, and then he has sprinkled in some box reps, which I imagine would be listed as strong safety, 370 snaps. But that could also be listed at that's where that weird
like a box safety though.
Yeah, or that could even be a slot player that their designations sometimes get weird when they put box in there. I don't like when they do that.
I mean, you got a guy out there playing star or whatever. Like, they don't know where to catalog that.
Right, and so that's the thing. But I imagine box in his case would be strong safety. So he has done a lot of things, but very clearly, the majority have been in the slot. So again, yeah, I mean, it's like Green Bay secondary, where it's like with Hobbs down, it doesn't look good at corner, but the safety room is good. Like it's a very similar situation.
It is very similar
on both sides of the ball in the secondary, which is, where it's like, yes, could the defense win out because they're rusty? Yes. Could big plays be a story of the game because the corners rooms aren't, among the best in the league? Absolutely. Like, it could be one of those weird games where it's like, no, nobody scores 30, but you're like, okay, some of the defense was good. Some of the defense was like, man, we're letting up some big plays because on a couple of these, the defensive line, none of it could get home. And, we don't have the best units on the back end, and the safeties can't cover, everywhere. They can't be everywhere at once. Like,
let me ask you a question.
Has an Oladapo, right? You know what I'm saying?
Based on how last year went, who would you rather have on your roster today? Terrion Arnold or Javon Bullard? There was a lot of talk.
All things considered equal, presumably.
There was a lot of chatter about the Packers trying to trade up to go get Terrion Arnold. Yeah. And ultimately, obviously, they did not trade up. And I don't know that I believe they were actually trying to trade up on draft day. There was talk that they were specifically trying to move up before draft day to position themselves to grab Terrion Arnold. Yeah, just like if Brad Holmes called up Brian Gutekunst and said, hey, 1-for-1 swap Terrion Arnold for Javon Bullard, would you do that?
If Brad Holmes asked.
While you're thinking about that, Chris asks, who's starting Jeff Okudah? Last I heard, Okudah was a Falcon. I think he's still a Falcon. Jeff Okudah. No, he's a Viking. He's this is interesting. Is he a Viking? So he's a
God, everybody's got problems.
Preseason week 1, he played for the Vikings.
Even
I forgot that he spent time in Houston as well.
Might be a season of big plays. Look at this. Matt's talking about Vikings quarterback room's a real problem too. Real steam on signing Stephon Gilmore, and that's not a good thing. Yeah, I kind of do remember us talking about last year of like, wow, they just have they brought back Murphy and they kind of had to. Like, I don't think there was any question based on what else was there and what else they could do after that. And yeah, they just got rid of they just traded Mekhi Blackmon to the Colts, right? As well as losing Bynum there.
This is bleak.
Not corner, but
their starting quarters are Byron Murphy and Isaiah Rogers. And they have Dwight McLaughlin and Jeff Okudah.
Yeah, this is
in reserve.
Gosh, they probably have to sign Gilmore. Low key. Because I'm trying to remember. I think Jay Ward, if I'm not mistaken. I think he played some slot snaps at LSU. I think. I could be mistaken though.
I don't know if I've watched Jay Ward.
Yeah, that's pretty bleak. What's with our division right now? We need to have a division.
Do the Bears have the best cornerback room in the division? I would say they do. I mean, Jalen. Yeah, first of all, Jalen is clearly He's clearly the best corner.
Yeah, he is.
Best individual corner in the
Do they have
division.
anybody else?
It's not close.
I mean, they have Kyler Gordon playing slot.
And then Tyreek Stevenson. Like, this is easily the best cornerback
Stevenson's
room.
bad. It did not have a good year, but Kyler and Jaylen, yeah, that's good enough.
This is easily the best cornerback room.
It is. Yeah.
And, like, the Packers are second best, I would say. I would take Nate Hobbs over anybody at the Lions. And, like, Nate Hobbs versus DJ Reed. I think I would probably take Nate Hobbs.
I think just barely, but I think it's pretty close. I do like the fact that the Bears are even kicking the tires on Jalen Jones, honestly. So, okay, this makes me think
Nate
that
Hobbs
I was right.
Is 3 years younger than DJ Reed too, so
this makes me think I was right.
You're gonna tiebreaker that one.
This makes me think
DJ Reed will fall off before Hobbs falls off from wherever he is. Now, it doesn't help that the rest of the Bears defense, again, there's just really good safeties all over in the NFL. I mean, not in the NFL, in the NFC North. But
not this one. Not this team.
Like Brisker is he's
okay.
average at least.
He's okay.
He's average at least. He's not great, but he's average.
Yeah.
Kevin Byard, I really liked when he was with the Eagles. I can't remember I totally forgot to go look and see.
So he's been around a while. Titans then Eagles for him.
Well, he's super old. He's 31 years old.
Yeah, 31. Yeah.
No, he's 32 now. He just turned 32 like last week.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah. This was right, by the way, on Jay Ward. I looked. He did a lot of everything. 584 in the slot for Jay Ward. Yeah, I thought so. I thought that was the case. So yeah,
Byard was not like god awful last year, but like it was a huge question. You know, everybody was trying to figure out, which safety the Packers were going to go sign in free agency, and I liked the idea of Kevin Byard, but like the age was so concerning to me, and he did fall off last year in Chicago.
Yeah.
Interestingly, if you just look at PFF coverage grade, not the be all and end all, but he did regress for 4 straight years from 2021 through 2024. 90.7, 81, 70.3, and then 61.6. This past year, he allowed receptions on 71% of his targets. NFL passer rating, not terrible. NFL passer rating of 90.2 when targeted. Had 2 penalties in the season.
Yeah.
Anyways, but it was
peek at this whole division. Honestly, kind of glad we did this. It's kind of a nice little look. Not to interrupt you, my bad.
Is there anything? Do you have any other lingering questions about the Lions' defense before we turn our attention to the offense? We really have not talked about the linebackers. I don't know that we need to because it's the same. Yeah. It's the same group that it's been. So you know what they're at. They've been steadily getting better every year. It's a pretty good linebacking core. Anzalone, for as much as I really don't like him, he's turned into certainly a fine starter, no question about that. And then Jack Campbell, just kind of out of nowhere, just very, 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 very solid. And they're even getting good contributions from Derek Barnes.
Yeah. Their 2023 draft continues to play out, and it's like we're not even thinking about Campbell as much, like nationally and even interdivision wise. We're not thinking about him as much because he's just kind of been solid, super athletic, 245, 250 pound linebacker, built for this cyclical shift, truly built for it. Would be a perfect complement to Cooper right now if we had him. That Gibbs and Campbell first round, it looks wonky, but it's worked. And then obviously Branch and LaPorta in the second has been tremendous for them. So if they ever get this thing done and go win one, they'll look to that class a lot. And certainly, of course, the 21 with Sewell and St. Brown. But they continue to find pillar pieces. There's probably going to be a draft or two where this runs out for them, but they've been on a heater, and they went Tyleek and Ratledge, and then they obviously make a big move up for Tesla. So we'll see how they can keep going, Excited to see it.
Chris said Detroit spent big on those corners, and I'm not sure if he's, joking or being serious, but I did notice that the DJ Reed contract for a guy who's already in his 30s, or just hitting his 30s, he's 29 right now. This is not a contract you love to see. It's not, from a dollar standpoint and length, it's not too dissimilar to what we've got going on with Nate Hobbs, but Nate Hobbs is 3 years younger. Oh, wow. And so the idea of signing him to this longer deal, despite the fact that neither one of them are like fantastic corners, like this is a lot scarier to me that a year from now, let's say that he plays like crap in 2025, and you want to cut bait with him, you're going to have 27 mil in dead cap for a very pedestrian starting corner. I do think it's hilarious that the Lions have both DJ Reed and DJ Reader as starters on their defense.
It's like Houston with all the Jaylens. Like, seriously. So
it's like the Packers a couple of years ago with all the Smiths.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that is a weird structure. Got some void stuff going into 28. Interesting.
So this year, the highest paid corner is Amik Robertson on the Lions, and he only has a cap hit of $6.5 million. DJ Reed is only 4.7 this year, but that's obviously not a very meaningful number because there's 32 million dead cap if you needed to move on from him, and I'm like, that is going to toll here. So the fact that they have Terrion on that rookie contract, that's huge. Yeah. But he needs to start playing better. I think my stance here on the Lions defense is the biggest question I have for them is whether Terrion Arnold can be a reliable starter who is good enough that they can leave him on the field. Because if they have to take him off the field, they very quickly get into a spot where they are majorly in doo-doo. Because that means they have to move Brian Branch off of safety and have him go play in the slot, which he's terrible at. Yeah. You are taking the strength of your defense, which is your two safeties, reducing it to just Kirby, and then, I don't know, Daniel Thomas or Thomas Harper. I don't know anything about either of those guys. They're certainly going to be a huge step down from Brian Branch. Yeah. Starting opposite Kirby Joseph. I think your best bet would, if you had to take Terrion Arnold off the field, I think you'd be better served trying to play Avonte Maddox or Rock Ya-Sin over moving Brian Branch. But like, we've seen those guys. We know what they have left in the tank at this point, and it's not much. Yeah. So if Terrion Arnold can just be, like I would say, Keisean Nixon, if he can even be Keisean Nixon, I think that makes such a big difference for this Lions roster. Yeah. And, they have a bunch of superstars in Detroit.
They do.
But like the window there is going to start closing if some of these young guys on defense can't hit, especially in that cornerback room. You need Tyleek Williams to hit. DJ Reader, absolutely out of this world run defender, but very expensive.
I think the reason you need Tyleek to hit is simply because Reader's in season 10 now. And again, McNeil, you're hoping McNeil is coming back at some point healthy. It's not going to be immediate where it's like, oh, he's himself again, where he's a DT who's clogging up space, but also has kind of unlocked himself as a pass rusher, not at the Dexter Lawrence level when it comes to nose tackles, because Lawrence is on another planet when it comes to that. But he's doing enough to where it's like, okay, we can justify keeping all of this on the field, all this size on the field on early downs because they clog up the pressure. And we have somebody who unfortunately is not available right now in Muzarike, right, who can kind of wreak havoc more as the pass rusher. That's what they were hoping Pascal could do, right, who is also, injured to start the year. I think he's the one guy who's on IR. So, they kind of do need Williams probably a little earlier than they were hoping they needed him, right, at this juncture. But I do agree, JJ, that I think the biggest thing I'm looking at with this team, right, especially defensively, is Terry Arnold, right? Like, now, corner is a difficult position, right? I think we all understand how difficult it is nowadays. It's very hard. Sometimes some refs, you can't breathe on a guy, and it's a penalty, right? They don't like you guys hitting either. They would prefer you not as well. So it's tricky, right? Not to mention you know these athletes are getting better and better, and you have to be fluid, focused in coverage, right? Especially when you're put on an island, right? And so I think Quinyon Mitchell got a little bit of the benefit of playing with Vic Fangio, right? That certainly helped.
Sure.
But he had a great season, right? He had a really good rookie season. Arnold did not. And so you're going to get comp to him all the time. Is it fair? Unfortunately, no. Because I think Mitchell was probably the most consensus of a lot of things in that draft of like, he's probably corner one, but you're going to get comp to him because you're picked near him. Doesn't matter if you could have or not could have, right? That's always what happens. And so for him to, it's not always an easy, as I said, it's not easy right out the gate. It took JC Horn a few seasons to really get things going. And now he deservedly was paid by Carolina. But again, it was a little slow for him. Not everybody's Surtain out of the gate. Not everybody's Sauce out of the gate, right? Like you sometimes it'll take time. So he's going to have runway, but I think at this juncture, you have to see, glimpses. You have to start seeing more of like, okay, he's showing up against, X, Y, and Z teams who have good receivers. And so maybe the play's still a little more volatile, but the penalties are being cleaned up, right? He's still tackling fine. Like he's a fine tackler. The good news is at least that.
He's an exceptional tackler. Absolutely.
Right. And you've seen like the coverage in college. So you're hoping that, right, it's not a situation where he's not doing well in coverage and he doesn't want to give effort as a tackler. So it's like, now what do we do? If he's not great in coverage, this becomes a true liability. It's like, no, just take the step up required of you because we know you can tackle. You've bought into what we want to do defensively. Just take a step, right? You don't have to be Surtain tomorrow, right? It's more of like, this incremental progress.
Well, let's talk about what his rookie season did look like. He played almost 1,000 snaps, was relatively poor in coverage. He had a lot of games where he was giving up 80 to 100% completions when targeted, and he was targeted a lot. He also had 10 penalties, and you referenced Sauce Gardner. Like Gardner was holding and committing pass interference like every third play for his first 2 years in the league. It just really wasn't getting called. And if you can, just be a little sneakier about it, like Gardner was, and get away with it.
Wear white gloves when you're playing at home.
Helps, yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, it helps a lot.
Anything possible for an advantage.
Let's turn our attention to Detroit's offense, because obviously, like, this is the strength of the roster. You kind of got pretty darn decent stars everywhere across the board. It begins and ends with the offensive line, though. So they're replacing Frank Ragnow. Graham Glasgow, as far as we know, has locked down that starting center job. It's going to be a downgrade from Frank, because Frank was a top 3 center in the NFL.
Yeah.
Is the offensive line still going to be good enough? You have Tate Ratledge and Christian Mahogany both starting for the first time at either guard spot. I just would like to reflect to a year ago when the Packers would play the Lions. This was more than any other point in the season where I really felt like our struggles at the interior of the offensive line showed up the most, where it was like those 3 guys were just constantly being beaten just about almost every down when we were playing the Lions, especially in the first half of each of those 2 games, especially the first half of that first game, that our interior offensive line couldn't hold up for even a full second before somebody's getting through and getting pressure on Jordan. And it was just a nightmare. You couldn't run the ball. You couldn't throw the ball. And now I'm not going to we haven't played a snap of football yet in 2025. I'm not going to come out here and say, oh, look at that. The tables are turned. Shoes on the other foot. We don't know. We got to see what Mahogany and Glasgow and Ratledge can do. But the fact of the matter is they haven't done anything yet. And that interior was such a strength for the Lions offense these past 2-3 years. I don't think it's fair to expect it to still be a strength, but can it avoid being a liability? And this is where, the Packers are going to have to take advantage of the situation. All right, you got Devontae Wyatt in the middle. We are not entirely sure who's going to be next to him. Maybe for week 1, you kind of just go all out and empty the kitchen drawer.
Yeah.
And really bring those linebackers a ton and try and get pressure up the middle. Goff is, and always has been, terrible when he's under pressure.
Yes.
And if you can get pressure on him.
This line. That's why Sewell was the pick all day, every day. Right. And
Decker and Sewell still, probably the best tackle duo in the NFL. But now there's a big 3-man liability potentially sitting right there. And hey, maybe this is a game where it would have kind of been nice to have Kenny Clark because he was much more of a pass rushing defensive tackle than a run stopper. And hey, maybe we can make the Lions one-dimensional by taking away the passing game. Don't let Jared Goff be comfortable enough to throw. And that's kind of a winning formula for the Packers. They're not really a stop the run first type of team. They're more of a stop the pass first type of team. And then, just daring the other team to give up on running the ball even when it's working, and that works when your offense is working.
Yeah, I think the one thing that benefits Detroit is simply experience. Glasgow's been in the building a long time. He was a 3rd-round pick in 2016. That's crazy. He's played plenty of snaps, over 8,000, 8,200. In fact, in his time in Detroit, he has mixed, the 3 positions on the interior. He's kind of stepped up when called upon. So there's at least some familiarity, continuity, all of that. So I think that is what's going to be the most beneficial to them. Now, Mahogany played well when he was on the field, but he wasn't on the field a lot. And Ratledge is a rookie. I thought Ratledge was their best pick in the 2025 draft. But I think that he still has to prove it on the field, right? You can like him in the draft all you want. Like we got to see it, right? So I do think that's where you have to take advantage. It's a very weird weakness on weakness game in this one with Detroit's interior O-line and Green Bay's interior D-line, right? Especially in terms of the depth. Obviously, I think Wyatt's got to take advantage, right? This is kind of the portion of Wyatt's career where we've seen the flashes as the pass rusher, right? When he's been healthy. It's unfortunate he wasn't healthy last year. But I think, now it's time to really step up, right? The 5th-year contracts in the 5th-year option is in place for you. They're choosing to believe. And if there isn't a perfect, honestly, 2 matchups for me, at least to start the season where you should be taking advantage. I mean, what is there, right? Detroit's interior, Washington's interior, to start the season. Those 2, Washington beefed up tackle. There's no question, right? They got Tunsil, they draft Connerly, but without Cosme, that interior is suspect. Biadasz is experienced, but it doesn't mean he's excellent, right? It's kind of the Glasgow thing where it's a steadying presence who's played in the league a while. It doesn't mean great. So Wyatt needs to tee off here. No question about it. I do think Hafley's going to draw up matchups for Parsons on these guys because he's proven to win in a lot of those situations. Right, they put him head up on the center and he's won. They put him up on guards, he wins. Because they're afraid of the athleticism, period. That's just the deal. And for the center, he could jab, step, and cross the face and dip underneath in an instant, and that's a really difficult assignment. So I think, it's all going to come down to Green Bay taking advantage of the interior, making Goff uncomfortable, because as you see elsewhere, winning on the edge is going to be a difficult task unless you're bringing plenty of heat to kind of mess with the protection rules, because Jameson found it. 1,000 yards on 58 catches, under 70 targets or something like that is nuts. That's just, you don't see some of that stuff. And yeah, he can, I think he, as far as deep threats go, one of the better ones, because he's got gear down ability to take advantage of teams respecting the speed on top of it. So, and Amon-Ra, we know what he is, right? He's next gen Cooper Kupp. And you know what Laporta is? Laporta is working his way towards being the combo player that I think they hope him to be. And if he doesn't, he's still a great pass catching tight end. So it's going to be a difficult task for the coverage unit. And that's why taking advantage of this new look interior is a big deal. Because they also lost Zeitler. Like, I know Ragnow's the bigger fish that is gone out to sea at this point, right, in his retirement. But Zeitler going is a big deal as well. A lot of experience from that, Cincinnati, Baltimore, and what have you.
So, real quick, I accidentally banned a user from the chat. I was not trying to. C. Cole, I think I just re-added you. There's not like a easy option to unban, but I think I added you back in as an approved commenter. I was not trying to do that. I apologize. I was trying to pin your comment, and I just missed and hit the. I hit the put user in timeout button.
Tough when we do it live.
And it didn't put you in a timeout. It banned you and deleted your comments, which is a separate button that I definitely did not hit.
It does definitely do that. I don't know why it does that. I don't know why there's not. Yeah, I don't. That's weird.
So
because I think Cole was making a lot of fair points about, like,
if you're still here,
certain positions where Detroit is much better than Green Bay. Like, I think that's a very fair statement at so many positions, right? I do think Green Bay would have the edge if they kicked Tom over to left tackle, technically. I think that's an advantage. But tackles, receivers, tight end, I think could go either way. I know most people wouldn't agree on that, but most people are probably emphasizing the wrong thing about what tight ends do.
I think Kraft is a better blocker, and they are both excellent receivers. Is Laporta a slightly better receiver at tight end?
I think so.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think you could make an argument there. Gibbs is obviously, electric factory. I think Jacobs and Montgomery do some similar stuff. So I think their room's deeper. Quarterback you can haggle over if you'd like to. Center,
I'm not going to. Jared Goff is a very average quarterback in a very friendly scheme. Now, he does what he is asked to do pretty well, which is deliver the ball to the right read on time. That's great. Yeah. When things break down, he is absolutely atrocious. And
that's the thing. Where
I'm not going to hear any argument for anything else.
Pressure to sack, avoiding sacks, right? It was last year. It was Allen and Love at the top of the list. But I think Goff has a firmer grasp on the floor of operating the offense than Love does right now, and I think that's fair to say. And yeah, what C. Cole says, I mean, there's so many positions, right? Until Green Bay just added Parsons, right? Edge with Hutchinson. Now we want to see him back healthy and see how the leg looks, but up until that injury, he was clearly the best of any of these edge players. Now I think it's a fun argument. Defensive tackle's a little thin between the two of them. I think you could probably lean towards experience with Reeder a little bit more. I think Detroit's better at linebacker because I think Quay, we're kind of waiting for that punch to be there, and Cooper hasn't had that many snaps. Safety, they got two. Their two is better than Green Bay's two. I'd stack McKinney up against anybody but Hamilton in this league, essentially right now. I think McKinney, Bates, and Joseph are very similar game-changing talents on the back end. So, yeah, I don't think that's an unfair statement to make, that the Lions are unfortunately better in a lot of spots right now, and their rosters.
I think I would take
got a little bit of an
Green
edge.
Bay's 5 offensive linemen over Detroit's 5 offensive linemen, even though Detroit has 2 better tackles than the Packers' 2 starting tackles. But I would say they have the 2 best tackles. I think that Zach Tom is better than Taylor Decker. I think Penei Sewell is easily the best offensive lineman in the mix. And then Zach Tom and then Taylor Decker. And then at that point, you get to Elgton Jenkins.
I was going to say, if you're going total offensive line, yeah, Elgton's probably the fourth guy on that list.
Elgton right. and then Rashid at that point. And like, I don't love the guard options for either team, but I would certainly take Green Bay's center over Graham Glasgow as of right now. So I would take the 5. And then also, like, with Sean Ryan being out there, I'm not the biggest Sean Ryan believer, but he does have continuity with playing next to Zach Tom. He's been in this system for a long time. I would take his experience and the chemistry they have working together as at least a plus. It's a plus that he has that. And it's a negative that Mahogany and Glasgow and Ratledge don't have that.
Yeah, I think it stinks because, like, on paper to me, this is tough because Mahogany I thought was a tremendous value when they picked him. And I really liked Ratledge, right? And so Mahogany played, I don't know how many snaps he played last year. It was very few. He looked good in them, but I think I'm just gonna pull it up. But yeah, I mean, for Ratledge, it's the NFL now. It doesn't really matter what you were as a prospect. 144 snaps for Mahogany last season. Got some at both guard spots. Did all right. I mean, at least according to PFF. I remember some of it against Chicago where I thought was pretty good, and in the Washington game I thought was nice as well. But other than those two games, he had 10 snaps. And elsewhere other than those two games, but I again, it's limited. You never know. But it's at least a nice little start for him. But he's still got to prove it in my eyes. Him and Ratledge. So
defensively, I think the Packers clearly have the better defensive roster. You know, we'll just go from top to bottom. Like, is a fully healthy Aiden the best pass rusher between the two teams? Probably.
Oh,
well, I should say the best. Is a fully healthy Aiden the best defensive end between the two teams?
Probably, yeah.
When you factor in just his complete game.
Sure.
But
pass rusher, no, but yes.
Parsons and Gary, and I would even Parsons and Gary.
Edge 2 for Detroit is pretty weak. It's pretty weak.
I would even say like Parsons and I don't know, Enigbare, or Parsons and maybe Van Ness. I would take over Hutchinson and Davenport.
Kind of surprised.
And then at defensive tackle, that's a big question for both teams. There's kind of one established guy for both teams.
Yep.
Pretty big question mark
for both teams
next to him.
So, yeah.
Linebackers, I would give the edge to Green Bay. I think I would say I like Quay and Cooper better than Campbell and Anzalone, but it's close. Okay. I think there's more variance with the Packers and more stability with the Lions, but the ceiling is just not there with the Lions.
It's that weird, to me, how you see linebackers, definitely how I see QB, where it's like Goff's floor to this point, running an offense, being more precise is better. Love's more volatile. His highs are a little bit better. I think you can definitely say that about the linebacker room. I do think when Rodriguez comes back, I definitely think the Lions are deeper. When Rodriguez gets back into this room, because you obviously mentioned Stewart, who's going to do a lot of work on special teams, certainly. But they've gotten quite a bit out of Barnes, which is, to me, pretty impressive, considering day 3 pick. So, linebacker's an interesting one to discuss, just based, again, on the floor ceiling, if you're viewing it right now in terms of like, I must give you the report today, I'll probably take the safer option. But if you're giving me the report at the end of the year, I'd be okay betting on Green Bay's guys.
At cornerback, I think that Nate Hobbs is pretty clearly a little bit better than DJ Reed. And I think Carrington Valentine is pretty clearly a little bit better than DJ Reed. So then for me, with having both of those guys head and shoulders above Terry and Arnold, it is a question for me of where do you slot Keisean Nixon in there? And I would say he's in between Reed and what Arnold was last year.
Yeah, Arnold's again in kind of the same vein of like a lot of guys going into year 2. Cooper obviously showed more and played better ball, but obviously we know what Arnold was in college, and could he reach that ceiling? Yeah, absolutely. And that, to me, if his ceiling is reached, he's probably above everybody. Unfortunately, in Green Bay, I don't think we're gonna probably see that in year 1. But yeah, I think it's
again. I still kind of go to like Terrion Arnold versus Javon Bullard. Like they're
that's an interesting combo.
I think it is an interesting comparison because both of them were quite good at really big SEC schools. Yeah. Both of them had some significant questions that, pushed them to fall a lot further in the draft than they were expected to go. And then they both were pretty horrible in year 1. So I think it is a really interesting.
It is, especially because
comparison.
Obviously Arnold's playing outside corner. I don't think that's going to change, right? Bullard is kind of in that weird flux where it's like, is he playing nickel, where I think a lot of people would rather see him, versus is he going to play, actually just play at safety, and they're just giving up on the nickel thing altogether. Just very strange, because we're going to see Arnold. How much of Bullard are we going to see in year 2? I think is interesting. So,
there's clearly an opportunity for Bullard to get on the field because we have so many questions about the cornerback spots and like who is going to play nickel for us. How are Hobbs and Valentine actually going to lock it down on the boundary? Is Keisean going to kind of get back to where he was in like 22, 23? Or are we going to get the 24 version of Keisean that we kind of saw again this summer in training camp? I tend to think that Keisean is washed. I tend to think that, age has caught up with him, that we kind of got him at his peak. Age has caught up with him. And I kind of tend to think that he's not going to be with the team next year, and, may not really be playing many minutes for us by the time you get to like playoff football. So, there's certainly the opportunity for Bullard to work his way onto the field. It seems like the Packers really want him to be pushing Evan Williams, that they want him out there. I'm not really that interested in that. Not saying that I want Oladapo to push Evan Williams, but I'm kind of more interested in seeing Oladapo on the field out there than I am Bullard.
No, I agree. Yeah, it's true.
C. Cole says, what's wrong with Chicago? They have a lot of pieces. They do have a lot of pieces. And, like, what's wrong with it? I just would say, like, they have to do something. Like, let's actually see them put some of these pieces to work. I'm not talking crap about the Bears right now. I need to see them do it.
Yeah, I think my questions are the talent.
Most of my questions are about Caleb, frankly.
Yeah, Caleb, but I think not to quote Cole, there's a lot of cope with Caleb right now because he play makes out of structure. Guys, we already knew he could do that. That's not like some shocking revelation that Caleb can play out of structure.
That was never the question.
Incredible plays on the move. The problem is, and we saw it in the preseason game against the Chiefs, right? Diamond release, win the slant for Rome Odunze, and Caleb doesn't throw him the ball. He's wide open. So, I have no idea what Caleb is seeing or not seeing out there right now.
Caleb has a slow processor. That was true in college.
Yeah,
he's been a slow processor.
That is
part of what led to the 68 sacks, the third most sacks in NFL history.
He threw with very little to no anticipation last year. Just feel like he never had command. And again, I get it that a lot of unblocked pressures in the offensive line. Listen, if the Chiefs were right about trading Tooney and he hits the cliff, Caleb's going to have to be, again, in a really big spot, because I'm just not I don't buy into Dolman a ton personally, outside of doing one thing really well, which is blocking in zone. So I got questions. Jonah Jackson's been hurt. We haven't seen a lot of him recently. left tackle, I think, is an issue right now. They're trotting out Braxton Jones. He's dealt with injuries. They want Trapilo to be that guy. He didn't snag it in camp. So I got concerns there. I'm not concerned about the skill position players, although I think Swift kind of stinks. I'd be interested to see how Monungai does, or if they trade for somebody like
Swift
ETN.
Swift has always been terrible.
Right. And so but I wonder if they trade for like ETN, or if they, check in on the Jets with Brees or something like that to try to revive his career or anything.
I'm trying to remember. There's a different running back that the Bears are kind of linked to. There's a running back that's on the market right now. There was somebody else and Brian Robinson.
Free agent or just
no, a trade. There was a trade.
Was it Bigsby in Jacksonville?
It might be it.
I know there's a lot of talk about Jacksonville potentially moving a guy because Bachel's, to me, that dude. Caleb does a couple things well other than playing at structure. He didn't put the ball in harm's way last year, but again, that's fine. But you also got to be kind of.
I still think they shouldn't have moved on from Khalil Herbert.
Yeah, no, they definitely should not have done that. I don't know why I have no clue why that was the case. Honestly, you're gonna run a bunch of zone. Dahlman came into this building like that. That was his move. Like that was what was gonna keep it. So left tackle concerns me, and the fact that left tackle concerns me that Caleb is gonna be worried about the time he has a little bit. And again,
Bears fans have been complaining about the offensive line in Chicago for years, like going back to the beginning of the Justin Fields tenure there, and I think that just about every year the Bears offensive line was much better than what they were given credit for. Yeah. And there was a lot of hand wringing over how many sacks the quarterbacks have been taking. It's like, okay, like the pressures that they are under are pretty comparable to the rest of the NFL. It's the pressure to sack ratio that is killing you. But this might be the year where the Bears offensive line actually is a huge liability. Like it's not as good of a situation as it has been recently. And Chris says, look at the Bears cap allocation. It is hilarious. So the highest paid guy that they have, Montez Sweat, who's like not worth that. And then DJ Moore, did you know there was a guy who was hosting a goofy podcast about a train or something, and he's really big on Northern college football, and he likes the Packers and all that. I can't remember what his name is. He's got a big beard. Who was not really big on going and getting DJ Moore. And now Bears fans on social media are agreeing with him and saying DJ Moore, not really sure if he can be the Bears' number one wide receiver this year. Not sure he's got this. It's always going to be Roman Dunze. Yeah, but then you look at the fact that DJ Moore is going to count for $25 million against the cap this year, and then $60 million in dead cap. You cannot. Nobody's taking that contract off your hands. Yeah. What's his name? Bill O'Brien is not in the NFL anymore. All right, he's not going to do this for you. Andrew Berry, maybe, but Andrew Berry doesn't have a lot of cap space to play with anymore.
Yeah.
So then your fourth highest cap hit is your not good linebacker. It's the wrong guy. Or am I getting these back? Am I getting these mixed up?
No.
TJ's the good one.
TJ Edwards is very good.
TJ's the good one, and Tremaine is the
Tremaine's the splashy one where people just focus on the splashy plays.
Yeah, TJ I like. Tremaine I don't. Nice. Tremaine, $17.5 million against the cap of this year.
Yeah.
That's insane. So then, okay, you were talking about Jonah Jackson and that situation there. Is he going to be able to play all year for them?
Yeah, I mean, no idea. They gotta hope Tooney is not hit the cliff. Which, if I were a betting man, I would say he hasn't yet. I think he's going to be rock solid for them. But boy, imagine if he has to take over at left tackle. Because they're like, oh, we saw you do this in Kansas City when they needed massive help. Out
He's
there, like, could they have to trot him out?
He's trending the wrong way, I will say.
From PFF perspective?
From PFS perspective,
is that because they had to put him at left tackle?
Well, no question he got a lot worse when they moved him to left tackle. He was playing okay at left guard. Kind of a crappy run blocker. Pretty darn good, very good pass blocker until they moved him to left tackle.
I don't think he's hit the cliff, but again, you never know when that thing's coming.
He might be fine for 2025.
I will say, this is probably true for now. Honestly, if you have me betting on it, I think he's the third best wide receiver between the two teams by year's end. Is my thought on this.
You got him behind Odunze and Golden?
Yeah, and if you count Loveland as a receiver, it might be fourth. Truthfully, but yeah, DJ Moore's in a weird spot because I'm sure that he's going to get all the gadget looks and all that stuff, but it's very weird. He's in a very weird spot. They paid, the money looks fine now because of all the other deals that wide receiver ones are getting. He was never, to me, going to ever be the elite of elite wide receiver ones when they went and got him. Now they went and got him because they needed to see it from Fields, which is totally understandable. They sold the pick, which I think, probably turns out fine, but I think it's just, you're in a kind of a weird spot where it made perfect sense to go get a guy like Rome. Honestly, it makes perfectly fine sense to go get a guy like Luther Burden because of the rare movement skills that you hope you try to capitalize on, right? To have him buy in. And it's kind of you've kind of already got potentially your two guys. Plus, if you're going to be in 12 with Loveland and Komet, where it's can DJ Moore play some running back, type of thing, because we're so thin. It's going to be a weird year. It's going to be a weird year with these skill positions.
I've really never liked DJ Moore's game.
Receiver rooms all year, personally.
This past year, DJ Moore had less than 1.5 yards per route run. More than half of his yards were yak. And then he's, I know Bears fans are not going to care about this at all, but he's a pretty crappy run blocker and kind of always has been. And for a run first offense,
Ben's not going to like that.
For a run first offense where Ben Johnson is your head coach, Bears fans are going to say, "Oh, that's nothing." I disagree. that it's nothing.
Yeah, I think it's.
DJ Moore, I have always said, is a very high end wide receiver too. Now you got me. The Packers have a whole bunch of high-end wide receiver threes.
What he said is not incorrect here at all.
Yeah.
At this point in time. That's not incorrect.
I have no problem with that either, man. I've said on here 100 times. My number one priority this offseason was fixing the Packers wide receiver situation through whatever means necessary, and I thought that getting a new wide receivers coach should have been on the table. Doesn't seem like it was. And number two was fixing the offensive line, the interior of the offensive line. They did some stuff at both of those spots. Did they do enough? I don't know. I'm inclined to say adding Matthew Golden and, hopefully getting these wide receivers another offseason in the books, another year more mature, could help the wide receiver situation. I don't like that Jayden Reed is hurt. Really don't like that because I think he's really supposed to be a big part of this offense. I don't know if we did enough at offensive line. I don't know if we have two starting guards. I don't like Aaron Banks. I don't like Sean Ryan. I don't like Jordan Morgan as a guard. I'm happy to have him play left tackle for us. I don't want him playing guard. I just don't think we have guards on the roster. And to me, Anthony Belton.
I think it stinks that we don't draft guards, to be honest.
The one time we drafted a guard was Elgton Jenkins, and it was freaking a home run.
It's like, I mean, I don't think Green Bay was. No, I gotta look. Now it's gonna bother me. I just gotta double check. But, yeah.
Drew said Ryan Poles is going to get fired after this year, and everyone will say he's the reason Caleb sucked. That's like it's true on both counts. True that the Bears fans are going to say that, but I also think that it's kind of been true that Ryan Poles has not done a good enough job with the assets that he had in acquiring talent. He had a lot of assets, and he got a little bit of talent. Now, it's a lot more talent than what they had a couple years ago. But when you look at teams around the league, and like the Packers are a prime example of like, hey, don't have a lot of resources, but we're kind of maximizing them. And you look at like the Lions had a ton of resources and really maximized them, and that's why they are kind of one of the NFL heavyweights right now.
Yeah.
The Bears had more resources and did so much less than everybody else with them.
Yeah. No, I think it's fair to I think it's, to me, go just real quick back to the Tooney discussion. I do think Tooney's in the top tier of the left guards right now. I think you can haggle over who it is. Tooney, this guy probably wouldn't have been here a couple of years ago because I think he took a massive downturn, but I think he's back. Is Quentin Nelson, and I think you throw Dickerson and Tyler Smith in that kind of upper echelon left guard conversation at this point. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else who would be there. Maybe Bitonio from Cleveland is maybe the other name that's thrown out there right now. I think, Skoronski might join the crew in a year or so. I don't think he's there yet, but I think that's your kind of upper echelon right now. So they certainly, if they get that similar play, it's a home run move for them, where the Chiefs had to clear some space to try to sign the younger guy in Trey Smith, right? So I think that's a great addition. It's just, to me, on the offensive line, it's going to come down to whether or not Dahlman is going to do enough in pass pro, and then what happens at left tackle, to me. But again, as you kind of brought up, JJ, Green Bay not addressing offensive line enough. I think that's obviously a part of 2024 draft, which we kind of talked about, of like kind of a weird allocation in some respects to what they did in the offensive line, even starting in the first, ending, down near, I think, the 6th round. So that's weird. I do think, the fact that Belton, Trapilo, and Ratledge all went within 4 picks of each other, I think is going to be fascinating to see how that pans out down the line as well. So, those three will kind of be tied together for sure, even though that they play a couple positions, right? Because I think you could argue Green Bay needed guard help, right? And, Trapilo has to try to kick over to the left side where Belton has already played and all that. So there's a lot that goes into this. Could Trapilo have just been the right tackle for Green Bay and Zach Tom would have just kicked back over where he's played? Like, there's a lot of interesting storylines, I think, just between those 3 players that I think will be fun to see how that pans out of the rookie contract. So it is.
It's true. I hadn't thought about that.
It is a very, very fun conversation. I do think, as far as polls goes, I think, Ben Johnson's going to be driving this ship going forward. I think the Loveland pick at 10 completely convinced me that he's driving the ship in terms of those decisions, especially if they're considering offensive players, right? Like, if they're considering offensive players especially, Ben Johnson is in on every conversation. There's no question, right? So, he wanted Loveland. I almost guarantee that, just because I think they already had Kmet, and they maybe – again, I think Warren's probably going to end up better than Kmet, but I think they saw some similarities a little bit more so with those two, rather than a guy who has legit speed, fluidity, a sharpness to his game that Loveland does that I think Warren maybe lacks a little bit of. So I think that gave me the key in on there, and I think that their obvious interest in TreVeyon Henderson, the obvious interest of like, shoot, we didn't get Henderson. We'll punt for a while, right? That kind of thing. So I think that's clear that he's at least doing that. But yeah, and obviously they take Ozzie as well. in the second. So they went offense heavy. I think that was clear that Ben Johnson wanted to do that. And again, I think I honestly see Cole. I kind of am still kind of in that like sleeping giant mode with Chicago at this point, that I think a lot of people are going to clown him early because the Ben Johnson offense will be complex, and he wants it to be. He wants to derive that illusion where it looks simple, but it's very complex. And I think it might overwhelm Caleb a little bit early on because he was overwhelmed last year. And again, the processing speed has to get up to snuff. So I don't think they're going to be quite there this year, even though I do have some nuggets spilled around about them being in the playoffs. Just to cover myself, but I think it's going to be too late. I think it's going to be too little too late. I think they're going to be catching fire at the time where they are maybe just a little bit too far out of contention for a playoff spot. Obviously, if something hits earlier, then I think that timeline is completely changes, and then they're in a potential driver's seat for a playoff spot. But I just think it's going to come too late this season. I think 2026 becomes the year where you have to start worrying about Chicago a lot more.
Well, the other thing too is that Ben Johnson didn't ask Jared Goff to do a ton. And if he can simplify what is being asked of Caleb, and kind of beat it into Caleb's head to deliver the ball with timing and precision, maybe you let Caleb get settled in there enough that the game can slow down from him and he can start working on taking up that processing speed a bit. And, okay, sure. In 2025, he's probably not going to be making his full field reads and moving defenders with his eyes the way he needs to. But if he can be working toward that and not continuing to learn bad habits, like I would consider that a win in of itself for Ben Johnson in 2025. Just like start reversing the damage that was done this past year by the heck was the Seattle guy's name who was their offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron, whatever his name was, and and the whole Matt Eberflus crew. Just start reversing some of that damage that was done there with I didn't like Caleb as a draft prospect that much. I was a lot higher on Jayden Daniels than I was on Caleb. I never thought that Caleb had much of a processor in college and didn't show me a lot that indicated to me that he was going to be able to develop that. But also, I never liked Jared Goff's game very much, and Ben Johnson turned him into an extremely productive passer, and just a guy who could steer the offense the way it needed to be. They are very different players, and Goff's processor has always been better than what Caleb's has been. But I do see some similarities in how both of those guys' brains shut down when they are under pressure.
Yeah.
And Ben Johnson was able to prevent that from ever happening to Jared, and that allowed Jared to flourish in Detroit. So can he do that? And again, this is where that offensive line is very important. But I guess like Ben Johnson is probably one of the guys that I would trust to try and draw that up,
sure. For sure. No, I agree. Yeah, I think offensively, again, I'm just concerned about left tackle, maybe a little bit of right guard with Jackson. Obviously, running back isn't very good, but the QB certainly bears the brunt of that. Defensively, outside of Edwards and Jalen Johnson and maybe Kyler Gordon, I don't think they have much personally. I know they signed Grady Jarrett. That's very fun. I just don't know how much you're going to get out of him. It's kind of similar to me to Minnesota, where they're trying to do as much as they can. Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, where it's like maybe you still get a little bit of what they've got left, but it just feels like that's kind of an energy drink a little bit of like, give us a boost early, but are you going to have enough in the tank for 17 games? So I do like this, though. great conversation. C. Cole bringing a ton of conversation.
Yeah, appreciate you.
Which is awesome. That's why.
Appreciate it. And my apologies again for accidentally banning you. So glad we were able to rectify that.
Yeah, very fun. We've got a Vikings guy in here and a Bears guy in here. We're talking about the whole division, which is a lot of fun.
I mean, the plan was to do a lot more talking about the Lions, and I think if we had a Lions fan in here, we would not have spent the time talking about the Vikings and Bears that we've ended up doing. But you know what? This podcast has always been very driven by the chat. You guys are in here and asking us good questions. Like, we're going to go wherever you guys want to go conversation-wise. Yeah. That's just always been the way it goes. We did have Sequel wants the question again about J.J. McCarthy. So we answered this right before you got on, I think. Jury's out on McCarthy. Like, he has some tools, and he's in the best situation that he could possibly have landed in. Kind of like Jordan Love landing in Green Bay. Like, he was a guy who needed to develop so much, and boom, he went to a place where he wasn't going to have to start for 3 years. J.J. McCarthy is going to a place where the offense is not going to ask him to do very much, and the defense is so good that the offense probably just needs to not turn the ball over. You probably can do a lot of punting and still win a lot of games, frankly.
I think, again, it's a similar thing, right? If you're making me bet on it, I mean, statistically speaking, no. Because there's 6 QBs and they simply statistically cannot all pan out, but it'd be very cool if they did. Again, nothing's truly set in stone yet, other than probably Jayden at this point.
I'd say maybe Jayden and Bo.
Bo possibly. I guess Bo's maybe thing is just there may not be the ceiling to match everybody in that conference is probably the biggest thing, where it's like he experienced.
But that doesn't make him a miss. If he ends up being an average NFL starter for a while, that's not a miss at all.
No, I mean, he's probably what people thought Daniel Jones was going to be, for the most part. Like, athletic, enough of an arm on the deep ball. Jones was accurate on the deep ball until he got that neck injury. But Bo does that Jones doesn't do is he doesn't turn the ball over, right? Jones fumbled a lot always, and that was always an issue for him. And I think Bo is much more comfortable out there and has the poise that Jones doesn't. So I think he's more of the realized version of Jones. I think May has it. I don't think there's any guarantees that he has it yet, but it seems like he does, considering how awful.
I need to see a lot more from May. I'm not ready to pronounce judgment either way.
I don't think you should yet. So
can we set the standard at like who gets a big second contract from the team that drafted them?
Sure.
Like, can we agree that is that's the benchmark? Like you're okay. So I'm going to say, I think Drake May and Caleb Williams don't get big contracts from the team that drafted them. I'm going to say Penix probably doesn't, but I don't hate the approach they're taking with him. I'm going to say Bo Nix and Jayden Daniels do.
Okay.
So that just leaves J.J. McCarthy.
Right.
And I would say McCarthy, with nothing to go off of. We haven't seen anything at all.
Shred.
But like, probably just being, what we expect that they're going to ask him to do, with what we think he can do, with how the Vikings like to spend their money, he probably gets a contract.
Yeah, I guess if handing out 3 of 6 is what we're gonna do, Jayden definitely gets it. Bo probably does, as long as Peyton's around, because I think Peyton, as much as we joked about him calling Patrick Mahomes, which I think is a little ludicrous on his part, but maybe just doing his work, gassing up his guy to make sure he's got all the confidence on planet Earth, which good by him if he's doing that. As long as Peyton's there, I think Nix will be there, so I think that's probably going to be the case. I'd probably lean May to get the third one personally, just because I think he has, I think, to me, a lot of what Love had. And I just think
What Lev had it in what in
more
year one
structure.
or in?
Oh, I just mean like that third Love collegiate season where it was all systems go, but let's work on a few more mechanically and structure stuff is where I thought May was at. Love obviously kind of regressed into turnover prone stuff his final year. But I just think there's poise. I think there's enough precision everywhere to where I think he carves it out because they've actually got a lot like Caleb, I think, coming in a lot more structure and a lot more dedication to putting a team out there. So
C. Cole says Chicago's a city you can play average and get money at QB. Caleb gets a deal unless he plays himself out of it. I don't know, man. Trubisky and Fields both didn't get deals, and thus far,
Fields definitely played himself out.
We saw more out of Trubisky to this point than what we've seen out of Caleb.
Fields certainly played his way out. There's no question, and I think
absolutely he did. But
but yeah, I get what you're saying. He's got to show it. Like I think
Trubisky through 1 year did more than Caleb did through 1 year.
Did he? That was his. It was his. That second year was the big year, right?
For Trubisky,
I think so. Drafted in
2018
was the year, right? 2018 was the year, I think. So.
No, 2017. I think 2017 was a pretty promising year for Trubisky.
I'll have to take a peek. Just because I don't remember. But
like he regressed as a passer in 2018. He was a better passer in year one than he was in year two.
Fantasy team.
Well, yeah, in year two he started running all over the place.
He also had a big game against the Bucks, which coincidentally I had Mahomes and Trubisky that year as my QBs, and that was the Mahomes bye week. It was sick.
That's hilarious.
It was sick.
I also had Mahomes that year.
Oh man.
He had another really good game against the Lions that same year, and then also he had a game in 2019. Who was it? He had another crazy. I think he had like 3 crazy games against the Lions.
Okay.
In a 2-year span, 2018 and 19, he just went berserk against the Lions. Let me see. Where is there other Lions game? Did he not play? Oh, he did, and he missed the other Lions game in 2018 because that was when. What's the guy's name? The I can picture his face. White guy made himself so much money as a backup quarterback. What the heck was his name?
Foles.
Nope. No, this is before Foles. Foles was there in 2020, I think.
I don't know.
Oh, this is driving me crazy. I can't think of it. I got to go to the Bears 2018 season and see who else threw for him because this is driving me crazy.
By the way, still believe in Caleb. I think at this juncture, we got to see.
I don't not believe in Caleb.
See the processing step must occur this year. It must.
I just didn't believe in him that much to begin with, and I'm just saying his first year didn't move the needle for me. Chase Daniel is the guy I was thinking.
Oh, Daniel, not Glennon. Okay.
Glennon was the year or 2 years before. Chase Daniel was there in 2018. Man, Chase Daniel has been all over the place.
They did
Saints, Chiefs, Eagles, Bears, Lions, Chargers. And I think that's why they brought him into Detroit in 2020 was because he had that good game against them in 2018. Of course, 2018 was like, you're still talking about like all-time worst, Bears unit for a whole bunch of years there. But yeah, the Bears just teed off on the Lions 4 times in 2 years there from 18 to 20 or 18 to 19. Drew says Glennon is the QB that made me think 6'5" and taller is the detriment to being a QB.
Him and Paxton Lynch.
I mean, it all depends on how much that 6'5" is neck. All right, there's a neck to body ratio that you gotta hit. What up, Joe? What up, homie? Sorry I'm late. Yeah, I think we're gonna wrap up pretty soon here. We're just talking some Bears. We got a Bears fan here who's talking a big game. So we've been doing that. But Drew wants to know.
He's not a Bears fan.
Oh, come on. He's a Bears fan.
Says Houston. He said Houston.
Dude, you should talk about Houston more. Talk about the Bears an awful lot. Drew says, who wins, Packers or Lions? I'm inclined to think the Lions probably should be favored. They've played really well at Lambeau the last few years. And I think they should still have enough continuity on offense.
I would think so.
That even with a different play caller and play designer, they should still be well above average. I think that they're not going to be pulling out all the crazy innovation, obviously, that Ben Johnson did.
Yeah.
But I think it's still going to be, of the 4 units that are going to be out there, I would have the most faith in the Lions offense.
Yes.
And, so, if you're a Packers fan, I'm going to say, your motto should be, in Halfley we trust. Like, he needs to dial up. I'm going to say he needs to dial up that pass rush up the middle. Really put pressure on those 3 interior guys. Bring Van Ness and Micah and Edgerrin Cooper and Quay and McKinney. Bring all those guys on some stunts.
Yeah, Coop needs to be involved heavily in this one for sure. He must be involved. I agree that Green Bay's dumb if they rush Parsons. Again, if the injury is just pain management, fine. If it's something that needs to be taken care of, unfortunately, Green Bay does tend to rush people back. And
it's been funny hearing the dialogue on social media about that these past couple weeks, like particularly in relation to Jayden Reed and Nate Hobbs. And there's all these people on social media saying like, well, the Packers training, their strength and conditioning staff are so conservative. If they're letting him play, he's good. I'm like,
they're not.
What year did you stop paying attention to this? Like, that is a very old narrative.
Elgton,
Bakhtiari, Elgton,
Bach.
Watson.
Hopefully not Watson this time around.
Stokes, freaking Eric Stokes.
Yep,
that was probably the most egregious. I mean, I think that they absolutely ruined his career with how they mismanaged his injury, and it was in real time. It was unacceptable.
Yeah.
So the fact that they are pushing Jayden Reed out there this quick, and we have questions about Elgton, and we have a recent surgery for Hobbs, and I don't know enough about Hobbs's surgery time. Yeah, Alexander.
Yeah.
But Hobbs now, Alexander, I think Jair is a case where the public perception is that the Packers were slow rolling that one, and that he was ready to play, and the Packers staff was either holding him out or just letting him not play. And like, if you thought that, then like go pay attention to Baltimore here, and that should what's the word I'm looking for? That should dissuade you of that opinion.
Yeah.
Like, Jair was not healthy enough to play.
Yeah, I have no problem. I have no problem bringing him along. Again, there's so many like billions of opinions out there right now on the back injury. Everybody thinks they're a doctor. We can.
You're talking about Jenkins or Parsons?
No, Parsons. And so we don't. Yeah, I don't. I'm not getting involved. I'm not one. People, the average person shouldn't be getting involved, and yet they will because they want to get involved on everything. So I'm going to leave that where it should be, and just say, like, again, this is not advice.
I think the big difference between
that, like, if he plays 15 snaps, that's fine. I'm not okay. Good, manage the injury. Like, I don't, that's totally fine. Manage it on a short week, and if he's full go by week 3 because he's not been playing much, that's fine. Like, I can't be concerned about that. So, like, this is a long contract. It's a long game. You want Parsons around for a long time. So I have no issue saying, like, yeah, we lose week 1 because you're not out there enough. We handle enough business week 2 where you don't need to be out there a bunch. And even if you need to sit week 3 against Cleveland, that's fine too. But we need to go crush your former teammate in Jerry World on Sunday night, week 4. So if that's when you're ready, works for me. Don't rush it.
Although frankly, I don't think we need Micah's help to win in Dallas.
Probably not. No, probably not. But it would be way better if we could just win 47-9 like the Lions did.
That game is at Jerry World, right? It's not in Green Bay.
Oh yeah.
Good.
So
I love visiting Lambeau South. Like that's one of my favorite places.
This is the biggest thing. We're 26. We're not at the end of a contract. This isn't Julius Peppers, right? Where it's like, we need him this absolute moment in time. This is a long contract to play out, and he's just way, way, way too talented to rush him back to cause further issues and make you look absolutely stupid for trading 2-1s because then you didn't take your time with an injury.
And I think this is the big difference between the Packers. Jayden Reed.
Make him the exception to what you've done the last 5 years. Please. If there's any concern, please make him the exception to what you've done. You rushed Love back. We didn't even mention that. Love was rushed back. He's probably part of that was Love himself wanting to play, understandably, but like, just don't need to. So,
well, the Packers are clearly going to.
I mean, I do think they need him. I do think they. But by the way, I do think they need him Sunday to win. But you're not playing. You're not. That's not the only game you're playing over the next 4 or 5 years. So I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen. What do you mean doesn't play? If he doesn't play for a week,
we're going to pay that much for a guy who doesn't play. Don't be
stupid. What do you mean?
All right.
What do you mean?
We're not talking about.
Matt, come on, bro. I believe in you, man.
Micah does not have a. He's not injury prone. He has an injury now.
We don't.
Also, he's not in football shape. Has not practiced with the Cowboys all year. Doesn't know jack about Green Bay's scheme. So if they bring him along slow for the first few weeks of the season, I think that's to be expected. I think everybody should have the expectation that, like, listen, he's going to be a big factor.
Yeah.
Come like October, November, definitely into December and playoff time. Absolutely. In September, give me a freaking break. Guy who doesn't
especially when two of the games are against Cleveland and Dallas. Like, we're gonna have to miss the point there. Like, it's simply heads will roll for 188 million, but it doesn't matter. Like, I think, like, oh wait, is he saying? Wait a minute,
Matt, are you saying that if we rush him back, then he'll get hurt worse and then we can't play him long term? Is that what you're trying to say?
Maybe that's
if that's what you're trying to say. That's a smart point.
Makes sense.
If you're trying to say anything else,
then I apologize.
Questioning how you got to that.
But, like, yeah, Parsons is going to be a reason that this team is involved in January and hopefully February, right? And you just simply cannot worry about 1 or 2 September games to forego. And this is
where the Jayden Reed
hopefully
situation is so different.
It'd be awesome if it was twice right in February that you were playing, but hopefully at least once, to the point where, like, this paid off because you didn't try to rush things. Like, that is what's crucial to this, right? So, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. And I know he's been training, but football's a different thing.
I couldn't disagree with you more about the football shape thing. He is not ready to play.
Ayuk last year, right?
100%
Josh Jacobs the year before we paid him held out. It didn't look right. It didn't look the same out there. And so
Micah's going to be in there on third downs.
It took Chase a little bit to get going when he waited to sign. So like,
Micah's going to be a massive part of this defense in the second half of the season. In the first half of the season,
you need to make sure.
Like, it'll be disappointing that he's, only out there playing 30 or 40% of the snaps, but like, just he's here for the long haul. He's probably going to finish his career here. He's going to be a major factor in our defense for years to come. And you're not going to remember, the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season, he didn't do very much.
If they have a Lombardi in the February of 26 or 27 or 28, if it happens, whenever it is, one of those next 3 to 4 years, are you going to be concerned that he didn't play in September of 2025? Only 2 of 4 games? I don't think so. I simply do not think so. So, like, imagine a team traded for Garrett, right? Like, and was like, oh well, hold on, he's got an ankle sprain, like a low ankle sprain. Let's not, or a calf, for goodness sakes, or he's got a calf injury. Let's what are we doing, right? We got Garrett for 3-4 years. Let's not rush anyone back, especially on like a calf injury. Like we don't need that, right? Rodgers was on the calf because in 2014 they had a good enough team to win everything, right? And he had to play on it, and there was no question. Like this is a team that can do it. Like he's got to play, period. And the calf is just, can he manage it, right? And so I think just different things. I mean, if you get super conservative, are you willing to sit Parsons out a month? Maybe. I'm not opposed. I'm not opposed to him sitting out that long. I would slowly do this, right? Cole said they worry about how it translate from playing a dome to going outside, especially doesn't produce it all in the playoffs. I don't know about
what the heck is your sample size?
Produce it all in the playoffs.
Barely made the playoffs.
Hold on a minute.
2022,
16 pressures, 1 sack in the playoffs in the 2022 season. I turned on that game. That was the first thing I turned on for Parsons, and he had a TFL, and he got a holding penalty called in the first 3 plays of the game. Like, what do you mean not the playoffs? What do you mean?
Tell me you didn't watch anything and just saw a tweet.
I ain't worried. This is the problem. I ain't worried about the sack, dog. The sacks, all sacks are not created equal, my friend.
I'm not talking about pressures. I'll hear you about pressures.
Sacks are not created equal.
Sacks is a low football IQ point.
We gotta get deeper than just sacks. My goodness, Kyler Fackrell had 10 sacks one season. We all knew that was fake, right?
2022,
half the people
he was also
be like, "Who's that?"
2022, he was also a huge factor in stopping the run as well. He had 5 tackles for loss in those 2 games as well in 2022.
Pressure percentage on first and second down, number 1 since he came into the league. Pressure versus double teams, number 1. Right? So, I mean...
Look, Cole's just trolling at this point.
I think so.
Micah Parsons is not getting home.
This is the argument.
I'm
not
even engaging anymore at this point.
We can't be doing this. You can keep to the raw counting stats. Yeah, like literally Kyler Fackrell got a 10 sack season.
Cole's point
Vic Beasley, you remember him?
Is that in a sample size of 4 games, there weren't enough sacks. In a sample size of 4 games, one of which his whole team just got destroyed, there weren't enough sacks. That's absolutely ridiculous.
I can't. I can't do it.
And
I simply can't with the raw counting stats. We are too.
And so from there, we're pivoting to saying Micah Parsons, of all people, is not getting home. Like sacks is his thing.
We are too advanced as a
society. If you want to look at, who all out there does actually consistently put up the counting stats, which are really not a big deal. Like, in addition to actually just being a good football player, he also has the sacks. So, like, that's just a silly point to even try and make. Let alone it's not the right one. Did you guys see the Solak Parson tweet? He's had a couple of them. Which one are you talking about? Benjamin Solak. Benjamin Solak. Parsons. He's had a few. September 1st, so yesterday. So this is an article he wrote. He's tweeted a lot about Parsons in the last few days. Which one are you looking at? He's tweeted a lot about Parsons in the last few days. Which tweet are you looking at, Adam?
Don't ask me.
I see sack rate. So now I'm to the point where he's not yet a Packer. Yeah, Adam, let me know like what the topic of this Parsons tweet was. Pressure rate on first and second down. Okay, that helps. That helps narrow it down. I don't see this. Maybe I gotta search Micah instead.
Probably.
Is it pressure rate? Pressure. Let's try pressure. We'll search pressure. See if he's tweeted that word in the last couple days. Jackson Dart. Kyle McCord. I don't see it, man. Do you want to DM it to me on Twitter and I'll pull it up at that point? Okay, let's see. Micah isn't known to be a run stuffer, and that's not what he's paid for. He's the best pass rusher in the NFL. I mean, it's certainly worth considering. Oh, here we go. I got the. Okay, how do I copy out of here?
I retweeted this. If that's what Adam's talking about.
Oh yeah, here it is. Here's the reason I couldn't find it. He didn't actually tweet any of the words we were looking for. It's just
he tweeted, "Dude, come on." Yeah, I bookmarked it.
All right, I'm putting it on screen right now.
My question is about the counting stats for sacks. I mean, do we want it? Do I dare get involved?
No. We're not doing that. The pressure rate on first and second down
since
15.3%.
Since he entered the league.
Second place, Trey Hendrickson. I hear he's pretty good. Myles Garrett, Nick Bosa, Max Crosby. These guys are good, aren't they? I feel like they're good.
Yeah.
Look at that. 15% versus 11%. That's crazy.
I know. Well, I simply must do this. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Matt.
I
just cut 6 inches off it the other day.
I simply must do this for the culture, okay? So we're talking about sacks, right? That's what we need to do here. We're talking about sacks.
I don't need to talk about sacks.
We're going to talk about sacks for fun. So Parsons had 12 sacks last year, right? He's had that every year, at least, since coming into the league.
Yeah.
Reggie White's the only person who's done that in 4 seasons.
Yep.
He also did it in 13 games, by the way. And Garrett had 14, just 2 more in 4 more games. Okay? He had the same amount as Danielle Hunter, 12 in 4 less games. So, like, I don't know. What are we doing? Like, if he played 17 games, he's probably number 2. He's number 2 to Hendrickson. If he most likely if he plays 17 games. So, my problem is people are gonna like.
That's pretty good.
The problem is now then okay, we got to keep that same energy for everybody, right? When TJ Watt has more sacks than guys, we got to talk about how he's better than all of them.
No, that's what Stephen A. Smith and Colin Cowherd do. We don't need to do that on this podcast.
Talk to me about Nick Bosa only having 9 last year then. Or is it just simply that, if you have enough high quality pressures on your resume, it's gonna be there. It's gonna be there.
You guys want us to do a mock draft?
It's the same as the exit velo thing.
Mock draft?
It's the same as the exit velo thing in baseball. That's why everybody's chasing it, because you got to chase home runs, extra base hits, right? Exit velo on a big sample size is going to get you where you want to be as a hitter. That's why people chase it. That's why people chase pressures, pressure percentage, all that stuff. So, and I didn't even mean to, I just don't know why we brought the counting stats. He don't have to tell me. I'm with him on Danielle. I thought that Daniil was an upgrade over Grenard, personally. If they wanted just pass rushers, like he was clearly an upgrade there. And I think Will Anderson continues to be not talked about enough because he only had 11 last year, but his pressure percentage is like 17%. He's outstanding. So it kind of hurts his
17%
guys.
17% is Von Miller 2015 good.
And
that just doesn't happen.
And Parsons was 19 last year, so along with Hunter, and Henderson was right there too. So, but who wins? Do you pick the Lions?
I think that it's more likely that the Lions pull it off. I mean, it's like no question the Packers have enough talent to do it, but they've only actually shown up for a Lions game one time in the last handful of years, and it was that Thanksgiving game. And like usually when we play the Lions, the Packers get such a slow roll started in the first half. They show up so unprepared that it ends up just being too little too late. And so I'm just not going to give Green Bay the benefit of the doubt that they're going to show up ready to play until they start doing it with some consistency. Yeah. All right. Detroit, I think, is going to show up ready to play. I have a little bit more of a question about whether Detroit has enough talent on defense than I have questions about like Green Bay's level of talent. But I have a lot more trust in Detroit to show up actually ready to play and motivated and with a good game plan. Green Bay just keeps coming in with like not a great game plan for stopping Detroit, not a great game plan for attacking Detroit. So, yeah,
I agree. No, I agree. I think.
Who are you picking to win?
I think the Lions. I'm gonna go 24-20. I think I buy into the consistency that their offense is gonna bring just a little bit more. In an area where we think the defenses will be ahead, right? Early on in the season, I just think their continuity and their health, and obviously consistency, right? We think Golden's probably the best, most reliable receiver that they've gotten. He hasn't played it down yet, and that's tough, and that makes it a lot more difficult. So, yeah, I'm going Detroit in this one.
I think Doubs is more. I think Doubs is probably the most reliable guy that they have,
which is tough considering what happened last year with him, with the drops, and in camp has happened also, and to start the preseason.
All these guys have always had drops.
And against the Jets in the preseason, this was just tough. So
the betting line, the Packers are favored by 2.5, and so what is this? The books are expecting like a 20, roughly like a 23-26 Packers win. So my math, which is based on last year, and which is not, I would say this math is likely to be a little bit too high scoring because offenses tend to struggle early on in the season. So like maybe take these same numbers, but like drop them by like 3 to 5 points for both sides.
Okay.
And that would actually kind of put you in line with what the betting market says. But my math says Detroit 30, Green Bay 25. But that's still only giving Detroit a 62% chance of 54% chance of winning. So and I would have it in like near toss-up territory, but I would give the edge to Detroit. So, like I said, Green Bay is favored by Vegas. I think if you wanted to bet this game, I think the math says Detroit, and the sports books say Packers. So if you wanted to at least bet the Lions to cover plus 2.5, that seems to me like a good bet.
Yeah, I agree. Can I?
Do you guys in the chat want us to do a mock draft?
Can I get a couple more?
Curious.
Can I give out a couple more stats for fun?
You can give out some stats.
All right.
And
cool.
while you're doing that, I want to see if people want to do a mock draft. You guys do want to do a mock draft?
Just for
Venmo. Venmo is the way to do this.
As you should, good sir. As you should.
You like the edge talent here in Houston.
Excellent. They are excellent. They are awesome. They're sick. They should be feasting. Week 1.
Well, the other offensive lines in the AFC South too, like offensive line is not really a strength of that division.
No, it's not.
There's some pretty darn good pass rushers in that division, but not so much offensive line.
So, yeah, a couple other quick things. Brandon Thorne does incredible stuff. Trench Warfare Substack. Even if you don't pay subscribe, there's still some nuggets you can get on a lot of the stuff. So he does total pressure rate. He does adjusted pressure rate. Also categorizes pressures, right? Low quality, unblocked coverage, all that stuff determining your pressure. High quality is a 1v1 win, right? Against is a 1v1 win against a player, right? And then a rare high quality is a 1v1 win against a high quality offensive tackle. So I believe from what I could see here, as far as defensive ends, outside linebackers, the edge guys, Parsons and Nick Bosa were second to Myles Garrett last year in rare high quality pressures. Garrett had 9. Parsons and Bosa had 4. In terms of the total rare high quality and quality pressures, Chris Jones 48, Garrett 43, Verse 34, Parsons 34. Also remember Parsons played in 4 less games than the guys above him or tied with him. When it comes to snaps per pressure, 6 guys under 7 snaps per pressure. Verse Garrett, Highsmith, Chop Robinson, Nick Bosa, Micah Parsons. And then
I'm still sad about Chop Robinson and Jared Verse.
Yeah. Snaps per high quality pressure. Last season, Garrett 10.5, Chris Jones 10.6, Micah Parsons 11.6. So, yeah.
Thank you for the stats, Jake.
Also, big shout out Chris Jones. My man just dumping folks
Energizer
left
Bunny
and right on the interior. What a guy. Enjoy his career while it lasts, as well as Parsons, as well as Garrett, as well as Verse. I think Verse is to be on the scene very quickly. Bosa, I would also in San Francisco, because injuries have certainly hurt him quite a bit at times. But enjoy high-quality edge rusher play, and enjoy the ascending players that I mentioned. Verse, Will Anderson, Chop. These guys are going to be studs for a long time. Hopefully they stay healthy.
So as we've crossed the 3-hour mark here, the viewership is starting to drop off a bit. So I want to hit on our last couple of bookmarked comments. And first of all, Prince Capsaicin, if your live stream lasts longer than 4 hours, you should see a doctor.
Does this count NFL draft streams? Because if so, then I think a lot of us should see doctors then.
I don't think there's any question. Everybody's always known for a while that, Jake, you're a true sicko. You need a doctor. You need a doctor bad.
You right. You right.
I can't remember if we touched on this one from Coach Len. Does Parsons play Sam, do you think? I'm inclined
I think it happens
to say
enough.
Like sometimes, yeah. Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes
and sometimes he's
sure.
Here's my question is, how much of the time is he going to have his hand in the dirt?
On early downs or late downs? Just early?
I'm going to say ever.
Oh, plenty.
Yeah, but like give me a percentage of the time that you think he's going to.
43.
That's really high.
37 to
That's
43,
really high.
I think 37 to 43 is the two numbers that came up in my head.
That is a lot higher than I was expecting.
I wish I had tracked it for him in like the 700, 800 snaps I watched. I wish I tracked it, but
let's see.
I think
so. 2020. What year? Let's see here. 2024. He played left end and right end a combined 400 snaps. And then he played at linebacker for another 200. Of course, he didn't play the full season. So the previous year, get the freaking care about that. 240 snaps at left end. So this is in 2023. Only 90 at right end. 106 snaps in the box. So that's the other question: is how often are they going to be rushing him from inside? Because that's something I'd like to see Hafley do a lot.
Yeah.
Frankly. And then he hit almost 400 snaps at outside linebacker in 2023. So, he's playing more than half of his snaps, or at least roughly half of his snaps, lined up at defensive end.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Very interesting.
Well, I think this is a good one to kind of finish on too. I don't think. Do we have any other starred ones?
I think that was the last.
Really. There might be a one to finish one, but I think. Parsons is going to be good. He'll be great as a pass rusher. I think it's fair to ask if Green Bay gets over the top just by adding him. I think that's a fair question. I also think that I don't think I trust them to find that prospect in the draft that gets them over the top in terms of edge rushers to this point. Not that Gary and Van Ness
position.
Cannot be useful.
Yeah.
It's not that Van Ness and Gary can't be useful players. And Gary has done a tremendous job fighting through injuries and stuff and getting back to himself after it. And hopefully Van Ness can take a jump. I just don't think they were doing a good job finding the ace, the closer, everything that you could ask Parsons to do, or a Garrett or a Bosa or a Watt or any of the young guys, versus Anderson, right? And any of these guys. Like I just didn't think I had faith in them finding it because one, they love the big edge setters, right? And if they continue down that path, it doesn't afford you opportunities to get a player like this. And maybe Verse would have fit that. I think we both think he would have, but they never got that opportunity. And so this feels like to me a better swing at an opportunity to have that versus trying to continue to look for it, because I don't think, I don't think they were on that track. And I think this is the deal though. Winning's hard also, by the way. That's why those Green Bay teams didn't get it done. Because you don't know. Like they got it done arguably when 2010, when they were banged up the most, right? And found a way to do it. Like they got it done then versus I think their best team, 2014, their second best team, 2020. Years they should have gotten it done and didn't. You just never know. Like all you need to be is good enough to be in a position to have a chance where you have enough skill, you're not outmatched roster-wise, and you get a break or two in the postseason. Not all of us, unfortunately, are the Chiefs or the Patriots.
Look at that 2021 Rams team. Like that was not even close to the best team in the NFL, and they just. I would say both of the teams in the Super Bowl that year were clearly not. Yeah, the Giants,
Both Giants
the Buccaneers,
teams.
the year that they won it, they were a very scrappy team. They certainly were not the most talented team in the NFL.
No.
The year that they won it.
So it's like,
I will say
happens,
the
right?
big question that I have about the 2025 Packers' ability to navigate the playoffs is I don't think they have good enough cornerbacks. And I think that when you when you are getting
100%.
into playoff football and you are going up against the passing attacks that you're going to face,
100%.
like you would better have a Parsons and Gary and Van Ness and Enigbare and Devontae Wyatt up front, and you better have Quay and Coop screaming out of the linebacker position because you do not have enough horses at cornerback. You just don't. Yeah. And, maybe they make an in-season acquisition. All right. Like, you look at 2021 when they found Rasul Douglas, and he ended up like certainly being good enough that like he certainly was good enough to get you through a playoff situation. Asante Samuel Jr. is recovering right now from a neck surgery that he had to fix a chronic shoulder problem that he's been having. He is not going to be ready to sign with anybody and play until after probably October. You're probably looking at November before he's signing somewhere. Is he a missing piece? Potentially. I think probably he's not going to be a huge factor in 2025, but it could happen.
Yeah, I agree. I think Green Bay teams definitely have more talent than this current one, but they've got Parsons for several years. They don't have firsts, but
I also don't have any less confidence.
Obviously, first have a probabilities of succeeding a lot better because, obviously when you skew it with the top talent, because usually blue chippers are blue chippers, and it's very difficult not to be. There's still ways to build this team not through the first round. And winning in the margins in free agency, winning with marginal trades, something Philly has done a phenomenal job with, is another way to do this too. So to find guys who fit the scheme that maybe just needed the right one, right? There are plenty of ways to do this in the margins. Your second sentence on this one is nonsense. They were already winning. But they were already winning.
But I also just don't have any less confidence in Jordan Love in the playoffs than I did in Aaron Rodgers. Like you look at all the different Packers teams that got knocked out of the playoffs, and in each one of those times, one side of the ball just did not show up. Sometimes it was the defense, sometimes it was the offense. And like you can point to years where Rodgers played at his usual high level in the postseason. 2010, 2016. I would say 2019, even in 2020. And in 3 of those 4 years, the defense didn't show up. In 2010, both sides showed up and they won a Super Bowl. Right. You look at a lot of the other years, like 2021, he was just god awful in that playoff game against the Niners. Like there were a lot of things that went wrong, but the person who carries the most blame for us losing to that 49ers team was Aaron Rodgers. That was one of the worst playoff performances he ever had. It probably was the worst one he had. 2012 he wasn't good. And there were certainly other playoff years where he didn't show up. I don't have any less confidence in Jordan Love to be the guy that we need to navigate through the postseason. And a lot of people who don't know crap, who are just talking out their butts about Jordan Love in the postseason. Like, I'm sorry that you don't know how to watch football. I'm sorry that you are not very familiar with Jordan Love. That's not my problem. I don't have to educate you on Jordan Love and who he is. It does not make me at all insecure how you feel about what you think you saw.
There's certainly volatile play with him. But when he gets on when he got on that tear to end 23, I mean, he's playing outstanding football. So, do you think you can get that for 3 games? I don't see why not. Right. And so you only need it for that. And if this full unit shows up for 3 games, can't count them out. Right. And so, Love is probably the bigger swing than Parsons. I would definitely agree with that. So, but again, this is an aggressive move. It's kind of the move they haven't made really, and they kind of needed to do it. And it was going to be, again, we never, it's never, you don't really get players like this in free agency anymore, right? Because guys get paid early, except for Dallas. People keep their good players.
And Xavier McKinney.
Right? Yeah, people, I guess the Giants too. But people usually keep their good players now, and so free agency is kind of like trying to win in the margins a little bit, even though there's a lot of overpays done. So it's kind of picking your spots. But I think it was a move that, they kind of talked about in the pressers, right? Of like, this is a player you don't often see be available. So,
speaking of players you don't often see.
But anyway, we've been on here a while.
Speaking of players you don't often see, we have sailed past the 3-hour mark. It's time for me to go to bed. I want to thank you all for joining.
Yes.
Vikings and Houston fans.
Yes, that's right.
I still I'm not sure if I believe you're a Houston fan, but
I don't know why.
Thank you for showing up.
But
we had an absolute blast with you guys.
Yes.
And speaking of players,
good stuff.
The type of rare players you don't often see show up.
Yeah.
In the words of the late great Reggie
Minister.
White. Go Pack Go.